I guess that should have me. Ran a little bit behind. We got a special guest tonight. I got to bring him in. Just give me a few. It's take a minute or two. So get yourself a drink, get settled in. Looks like we're going to have a pretty good night tonight. I want to get my buddy on here, Mr. Eaze. The one, the only, legendary. Big Eaze. So I ran a little bit behind. But we'll get it all figured out. So, hope everybody's got some good questions. Hope everybody saw the ad, who we're having tonight. Let me start getting these links shared while we get him in here. Bear with me. I know it's a lot of dead air. I need to be talking. What's going on, Gordon? What's up, Michael? Hey, Curtis, what's up? No, Big Eaze. Ian Low. Yeah, you can make your own sweet feed. We'll get through that. Let me finish sharing some of these links, and I'll be right back. I've got to trying to do three things at once here. Man, I've been trying to get together a little special surprise for Mr. Big Eaze, and took longer than I thought it would to do. To be honest with you, it was quite involved. We'll get on to that as soon as we get my brother in here. I did start a couple minutes late, man. I was working on this right up to the point of going live. I literally just got finished. All right, let me get these links posted. Hope everybody's got a little refreshment. Yeah, there's been a lot of people made their own sweet feed. A lot of different. Oh, here we go. There he is. All right, let's see. I guess I better have two slides up here for us. What's going on, brother?
What's up, Bad Santa?
Not much, brother. Good to have you with us.
Yeah,
I
it
do.
was weird coming in because it made me do a bunch of crazy stuff that I'm not used to. So,
Oh, yeah. We got a lot of legal stuff on this end, man. We got
yeah.
this is the uncut. We don't want to have a lot of people getting offended by what we're saying here. So we make everybody sign an agreement, man. You got to be thick skinned and got to be able to put up with a lot of shit coming in
Well,
here.
if you know me, you know I'm not. You got to
Nah,
put up
brother,
with a lot of shit to deal with me. So,
So
uh,
I did a
oh,
little something, but it took me a little bit longer than I thought it was going to.
that shit happens. It's all good.
Yeah, man. But let's see if this thing works here.
There you go.
All right, looky there. So I don't know if you know this, gentlemen, but look at all the podcasts that they have done. Put a little slideshow together,
Nice, man.
and took a little longer than I thought it was going to.
Eh,
Man,
We're
this is
we're up to in the 120s, about
yeah,
120
this is a
episodes now.
hundred. I think 115 slides. I think there was like five that you weren't in, so I didn't include them.
Yeah.
They don't count. I'll get
Okay.
them out of here. They don't
Yes,
count.
I think we're coming up on the end of our third year. We're in our third year with
Yeah,
that podcast. So
I didn't realize it had been 3 years already, man. It's time sneaks up on you.
yeah, it rolls on, man. Yeah, we've had a lot of guests. That's for sure. I've heard a
A
lot of
lot
people,
of
a
good
lot of
guests.
different people
I
talk.
actually I should have set the delay on this thing a little slower, but man, for 100 and some picks, it takes a little while to get through.
Yeah, so we've had people from all over the country, from all walks of life, whether it's been guys that competed on Master Distiller, guys who are
Right?
just outlaws doing it in their backyard, legal guys in distilleries. It's been a good time. It's been a
So
great
I'm
time.
learning to use the little tools. I made the little ad that was new to me. I had to learn how to do all that. And Google, has a lot of new little apps and stuff that you can do a lot of this stuff with. This was the Google slideshow maker. A little bit of learning curve. I'm not
I
gonna
mean,
lie, it
we're
took me a
tied
little
over
while.
here, man.
Took me a little while to figure it out. I've got a link for you. It's posted to my Google page, so I can share this link with you, and you can post it on Still Talking. And but I also had a so that's pretty good. So I had also had a little advertisement, but it only does through Google Docs. But I wanted to be able to click on it and take you to their page,
Yeah.
and use hypertext and hyperlinks and stuff, and but I couldn't get it to work just in time. So
Hey, you'll get it all figured out eventually.
yeah, it's all a working in progress, man. It was pretty tough.
That's it.
So
When
introduce yourself and tell everybody what's going on with Mr. Big Easy
hey
Still
man,
Talking. Oh,
I'm just me, man. Not your host, Big Easy. Welcome to Distilling 101.
yeah,
So,
Distillers Chat.
oh
Well,
man,
I
it's
did
weird
bring a
on
little
the
something.
side. Usually I'm the one asking questions. So,
Yeah, well, you're on the
yeah.
other side of the aisle now, brother. I did bring something else a little special to the table. This was, I think, my first handshake, maybe,
Oh, yeah,
with
that's some
anybody.
peace brandy. I want to say, where was we at? Probably Beattyville.
Summer Jam.
That was Summer Jam.
Summer Jam 93. I think it was the
What's up,
first
Scott?
jar anybody. I shared a lot of drinks. A lot of
Uh-huh.
people gave me, shared a lot of drinks, and I shared a lot of mine drinks, here, passed around. But I think this is the first jar that anyone actually gave me. So I've kept it.
That's my deal, man. I'm
Um,
like, hey, man, I don't really know you, but how you doing, brother? And then
yeah.
before you leave, I'm like, here's you a jar. Here's you a jar. I dug up some 130 grappa that you made. And I want to say it was the first thing of grappa. because this one didn't have the walnut in it.
Right. It was all the same batch, but some of it did get soaked in the walnuts, and then some I just didn't have time to dip my nuts.
I liked it without it. The oils from the walnuts I liked it without it better. I just
right.
Like
Okay.
so I put it over some ice because
I think everybody else liked it better with the nuts. So what I did, I thought, well, I only had those soaking in those nuts for like a week, and Tom and everybody were like, yeah, I like the ones with the nuts better. I think Philbilly, everybody's liking the ones with the nuts better, and I'm like, well, maybe I should put the nuts, put the nuts back in there, man. And I forgot to add the damn nuts. I forgot all about it. I was in a hurry to get to Beattyville and forgot all about it. So I get home from Beattyville and everybody saying they liked the other one better, and they could tell a difference, distinct difference. I was like, wow, that's pretty good palates, being able to note the difference in the two. So I'm like, well, if a week of nuts is good, maybe a month is better, So, or maybe more nuts and longer. So I poured more nuts in there, and I didn't realize it, but there's a lot of tannins on those nuts. And so I let it sit in there for like a couple weeks, and this was perfectly clear, even with the nuts from the first go around, it was perfectly clear. You couldn't tell that it had been soaked in nuts, unless you look at the nut in the bottom, of course. That left, but I put a bunch in there, and it pulled the tannins off those nuts. And when I went to the jar, it's like red at the very bottom, right next to the nuts, and it was like a red fluid of all those tannins. And then it was clear at the top. Yeah, it extracted all of it, but where it was sat undisturbed, it just at the very bottom, it's just like a layer. And I picked it up, and it just started, just whispering around in the grub, and I'm like, oh no, it's not clear anymore,
it's
man.
Not clear anymore. That's always what I'm like, man. Is it clear? Is it clear? Even if I'm using fruit, like like a lot of my recipes, I use fresh fruit, so I macerate a lot of fresh fruit in my recipes. And even when it's done, I'm like, man, I got to strain that. I got to strain it 400 times if that's what it takes.
Yeah.
I don't like floaters. I don't like chewing on
I'm the
anything.
same way. I'm anal about the floaties.
Yes, I don't
sediment
want anything
too.
floating. Yes,
I don't like
all
the
in the bottom.
Too.
That's a little bit of flavor, and I'm okay with a little bit, especially when you're using fresh fruit.
Right.
But like if you're using extracts and stuff, there shouldn't be any sediment in the bottom of your jars, or or even just a straight clear jar, because I don't like chewing. I'm here to drink. I don't want to chew. So
I've noticed in a lot of the post flavored drinks, I've got a refrigerator full of drinks up there, different ones and stuff. And I've seen a lot of post flavored stuff separate big time, man. I mean,
it does, and the longer it sits, it'll definitely separate even more. Even you could see it with some extracts if they're not done correctly.
It's like oil and water, man. I mean, it's just it's very.
When I first went to the jam, I want to say it was in 2021, I believe. If there was nobody brought mix drinks. It was all
that was first year, I believe, wasn't
it? No, it's been going on for a while.
Oh, has it? Okay.
I know Sean talked about it years and years before, so I'm sure it's been going on for a while. It didn't get real big until like I got on TikTok around COVID, hopped on TikTok and realized that there was a giant moonshine community on TikTok. And, I met all these people and Sean had been telling me about the Hillbilly Jam, and I'm like, well, let's go.
I think that's about when a lot of us met on. I think a lot of us met on like the old moonshine group from the North Georgia's group. I think that was one of the original big groups that everybody's on before we created our own groups. I think that was pretty much the go-to place.
But it seemed like after COVID, like the community exploded. Once we got into TikTok, and then all of a sudden, you're seeing groups, Facebook groups on Distilling, and you're like, holy shit, there's let's see what these are all about. And you're getting in these groups, and you're expecting them to be like every other group, to where it's just three assholes running everybody out of the groups. But there's not so much of that, even though there is always going to be some of that, no matter where you're at, no matter what, saying, like, you don't see it in I like the militia. You don't see it in there because all the people in there will run that dude out pretty quick.
Yeah.
And then, So just don't be an
Well,
asshole.
that's why a lot of the groups spun off. I mean, nothing against the
Yep.
Carnegies. I mean, or the Warnickies. They did all they could. They're busy. They got a business to run. It's hard to, you got that many people commenting that often. It's hard to manage a group. It's hard to manage everything that's said. It's hard to moderate.
It is,
And there was quite a few people that we're rude, and assholes and stuff like that. And a lot of times it went you know, unmodified, just so they didn't change anything. They didn't ban anybody. They didn't call them down. It's just, pretty much, the Wild West. And,
right.
and a lot of people are like, this is a little bit too much. Some of these guys are just trolls. They're just here just to create trouble. We need a group to where people can ask questions and without getting ridiculed. And that's, when all the groups started spinning off, we all kind of, Rock Gut, you were instrumental in creating Rock Gut, and Rigsby and a bunch of us, created the Rock Gut, and Phil Billy started, the militia. And, of course I had a group forever, since pretty much Facebook started, but it was just me and my buddies,
Yeah.
and it hasn't gotten any bigger than that at this point. But we created the DIY shine and stuff with Eric Ayers. Remember the scientist with all his different apparatuses he was building and his little continuous
I
steels.
have
And
seen several people come and go. Like
yeah,
over the years, I have
yeah,
seen several people come and go. Like and that's what's really cool nowadays is there's so much information at your fingertips. There's so much connectivity between people. You know what I'm saying? Like there's just so much connectivity between people. And like when me and Philbilly started Philbilly Moonshine, like we never in our wildest dreams envisioned that it would end up here.
right,
Like, we were just Philbilly he shot a biscuits and gravy video, scraping metal iron skillets with spatulas and shit, and it went viral. And and he had made a little bit of beer here and there. He talked about it, and I'm like, I ain't making no beer. It ain't worth all that. Let's go buy me a 12-pack for $4.
right,
And and so he's like, oh well, let's do some how-to videos. So we started doing how-to videos on how to fix things, and then we're like, oh well, let's make some wine. And then all of a sudden, we started talking about names for our YouTube channel to do this on, and I was like, well, let's make it Philbilly Moonshine. And we had found a Bever still on eBay. It wasn't Bever, it wasn't made by Bever, it was just some
right,
off-brand. And we're like, well, let's make liquor. Let's learn how to make liquor. Oh, it was terrible. We didn't know
right.
shit.
Yeah, the
But hey,
first
we
was
had a
hard.
cameraman, and there wasn't anybody else like us. You know what I'm saying? Like back then, you had George and you had Jesse, and
Right,
those were the two people that you had to learn from. And if you wanted to learn how to make wine, it was real
right.
pretentious. Like the
Yeah, I
people
went to
teaching
all
you.
those wine sites,
Yes, they're
and
real
there's a
pretentious, and they're real uppity. And
yeah,
so
very, very,
we're like, hey man, we're just two dumbass dudes that like to have a good time. Let's show everybody how easily you can make wine. So we started making wine out of everything, anything we could find, every fruit, vegetable, just shit off the shelf, crazy stuff. Like we was turning it into wine and just making sure everybody knew, like, hey man, it's this easy. It might not be like top shelf, but it's this easy to make wine, and there are steps to making a much better wine, but it was all about getting that person started and let them know, like, man, you could do this. If we can do this, you can do it. And and it
right.
led to like, hey, we got a still. Let's make a sour mash. And so we read some shit on making sour mashes, and we watched George. And if you don't know, like for me, George is a later on feller that you go learn from. Like you learn your
Right.
basics, and then you go back and you learn your ins and your deep
Right.
ins and
Yeah,
outs.
he's great for basic and
And
intermediate.
yeah,
Yeah,
and what
he's
he did for everybody and everything, he's a pioneer. He's amazing,
yeah,
and we appreciate him for that. But we wanted to make it
absolutely.
like you ever pick up one of those books for dummies on how to for dummies,
Right, right,
and that's what we wanted. We wanted to be like, you could do this easy. This is all there is to it, and so and then we just started having fun with the channel along the way, and but our first run of liquor that we did, we we videotaped it. We're on here, we don't know shit about cuts. We're just running liquor. We're mixing tails, and we did throw off heads. Like, we knew that part. Like, that was pretty well defined in everything that we had learned. And because we didn't have any predecessors to teach us, so
Right.
we're learning on
Yeah.
the fly, and we're learning by trash. And so, we're making liquor, and we got liquor coming out of the still, and it's enough to get you drunk, and it's like 130 proof. And it was a football style still, and so all we knew is we was making liquor and we was having a good time, and that's all that mattered. And
Yep.
we look back now like, damn, we didn't know shit. We didn't know nothing about anything, but we knew that liquor was coming out, and that's how we learned the hard way. And we're like, tastes terrible. So what did we do? We made a video, putting Jolly Ranchers in it. Like, you put enough Jolly Ranchers in this shit, it's going to taste good.
Yeah.
It's just you start somewhere, and then you get heavy onto it, and it leads to I met all these people on TikTok via during COVID, and and while I was away, distilling heavy and learning about cake stills and all this, Phil's growing the channel, and it's been a hell of a ride, and it's just wild to look back and think that it just started with us making wine in a 1 gallon jug.
It's
So,
amazing. Yeah, I kind of started with the same, passion is to teach, and I took probably the most difficult and the wrong approach is, I got admin in a lot of different groups, and I had like 10 different groups I was admin in, and trying just to go in and answer questions in every one of those groups, man. And you talk about exhausting. I actually just started creating little, just little, notepad, responses to common questions. And I just copy and paste.
and copy
It's
and
got
paste, copy and
yeah, it got
paste.
such involved, it's like hours, and it happened during COVID, which was fortunate. So, I was taking care of my mom before she passed away, so I had time. I'd sit over there to her place while she's in there resting, and I'd just get in there and answer questions. I had all day and night, nothing to do but take care of her and feed her, and I was pretty much on call 24/7. So was able to spend some time, dedicate some time to that. But I really wish that I went after that. Um, Roger and Mark wanted me to come on their podcast on Morgan Moonshine and help them out a little bit. So I went on there. I told them then, I really want to do my own, but until I figure it all out, sure, I'll jump in there. And then Mark, and Cassie went their way and want to do their own thing. And Roger and I, spun off and we did our own thing for a while. And, even then I told Roger, I still want to do my thing, man. I want to, do my educational thing, and
Yeah,
I love getting on and interviewing. So I'm not going to, quit the interviews and stuff. We'll just call it Distillers Chat when I have a guest, and, and we'll just sit and chat and answer questions and have a good time. And
yeah.
and so I thought, this is, it's kind of catching on. A lot of people enjoy coming in and being able to answer questions, ask questions, and get straight answers, and not have to deal with a lot of the ridicule and the bullshit
That's
and
right.
the trolls and everything else. So, and you get to hear somebody talk about it, so it's a little bit better than reading text. A little
Right.
more personal, and and it's easier to get your questions answered. I love George, love those videos and stuff, but if you had a question, you couldn't get up with George, and you'd have to watch 15 videos to get the answer to your question.
You have to
So
watch the whole video. It ain't like you could just be
yeah,
like, "All right,
yeah,
this is the part I need." You got to watch the whole video,
right.
and,
So
you say it's hard to get a straight answer sometimes on Facebook. And even when, even say you take the time and you do respond to somebody and you give the 100% right answer, there's going to be 10 people telling you why you're wrong,
yeah,
no matter what it
always,
is.
always, and it's
So,
just
and it becomes frustrating. So, it's really nice that when people could sit down and ask questions. And there's, like you said, there's so many podcasts nowadays that are all quality podcasts, spreading good information.
right.
Um, like, I remember
Yours
when
being one.
I like I remember there wasn't no podcast, like, and and Sean come to me and he's like, "Hey man," well first he went to Rick, old Tennessee Thumpers, and he wanted Rick on because why not? Dude's the OG of mason jars. That dude's,
Rick Gibson.
yeah, old Rick
Yeah,
Gibson.
yeah.
He's built and destroyed and been part of more shit than I could think of. You know what I'm
So,
saying?
so did Rick come up with the mason jars or Philby? I wasn't quite sure
No,
who's.
that was definitely that's a Tennessee thumper. Old Rick
Uh,
Gibson.
I
He's
came
the
up with the bypass, and it
he,
worked
he
perfectly with those
he's
jars, man. I
he's
mean,
the mason. He's the mason jar feller.
yeah,
And oh yeah, he's been putting bypasses on shit for a long time. And,
yeah,
so yeah, all as far as we know, it's all derived. Like jar thumpers they date all the way back, like all the way back in distilling to the beginning of distilling. You can see second distillate, glass and jars being used as thumpers. So
right,
it's not like it was something new that was
right,
created, but you know what I'm saying. The feller did take it and made it to where, hey, let's use these mason jars. You know what I'm saying? So yeah,
yeah.
that's a Rick thing. That's a Tennessee Thumpers. He's
Yeah, I
the
did the bypass like in '83, and I'd never seen it used. I mean, I'm sure that probably back in the 1800s, someone came up with a bypass.
yeah,
I mean, it's just they've just been
pipe and
distilling
pass.
and doing things for so long, but I'd never ever seen one, and it was something that I came up with just out of necessity because I
Yes.
could taste the smearing from the thumper every time I used it. I could
Yes.
tell a difference,
Well,
and it's
using
like,
all them jars, you're redistilling in each one, and also when you do have a bypass in, you have two stills now. Now you have just a straight arm still straight to your
right?
worm. You could run on that. You could
Yeah,
run
you can
on that bypass.
strip your heads and force off. That's what
Yes,
it's for.
you
Or
could
you
just
could just
straight
run it
run
all
on it,
that way. And yeah,
and which is nice, like, and because I was talking to Old West because he's building his rig, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm just making it like this." Like, yeah, dude, it's two stills. It makes it two pots. Even whether you got jars or just a regular thumper, like if you like to strip or if you just want to blow your heads off. See, I use an infuser.
right.
My thumper always has an infuser, and I start my thumper dry. That way, my thumper acts as a slobber box in the beginning because we're just
Right,
blowing our heads through. And
right,
because by
right.
the time it collects anything of value in there, as far as liquid goes,
Definitely
them,
be on
them
fours.
heads
Yeah,
are long gone.
right,
And so once you get into your hearts, then I start using my infuser to dump my flavor into
right,
my thumper. So yeah, I never use. So I don't worry if you have an infuser, you don't really have to worry about heads or smearing your flavors in your pot.
right.
At least that's how I feel about them, and that's one of the things that I love about the infuser. Which that came around what came to the forefront a few years ago. The old
Right. I
dump
think
infuser.
I think Rick, doing the infusion port, even in like the thumpers and stuff, him and Phil Billy were some of the first that I saw do that. And
The
instead of using jars, I think Phil Billy was probably one of the first ones, and we talked about it, that came up with just like a copper jar,
the
using copper
the
instead
sight
of a
glass.
jar with a little portal and
So
sight
see that
glass and the drain and
yeah.
everything, that infusion
The
port in
actual
it.
infuser, it also dates back to the 1800s of
Right,
a
right, right.
distillery on the East Coast.
But I mean, amongst the hobbyists on
Well,
social
amongst the hobbyists,
media,
it was brought forward by old Prohibition 1920.
does it?
Everybody knows
Prohibition.
Erasmus
Right,
from
right, right,
TikTok. He was doing things with magnets where he was dropping um, flavor into his thumper during his run, and then he paired with North Georgia, and they came out with the Prohibition infuser that was
right,
just a sight glass and um, two dump valves, two ball valves. And so, after seeing that, we're all about mason jars. So I was like, man, I'm doing this with a mason jar. Because, with a mason jar, you got a half-gallon mason jar. That's enough
right,
infusion to run a 50-gallon drum. Like you don't need a whole lot of infusion dumping into your thumper. And you got to be
right.
worried about overfilling your thumper during your run, making it puke. So,
It's got to have a
if you
drain on it, man.
Yep,
Yeah,
drains are a good thing to have with your thumpers. So I got with Sean and I was like, bro, check this out. It's an infuser made out of a mason jar. So like I created the mason jar infuser,
right,
and then we put that. Me and I showed Phil Billy like, hey, we're not doing the tube, which I like the tube, but they're small. Like the sight glass usually small. you got to keep refilling them. So we went with the mason jar infuser. The first infuser I seen out of copper was on the Philbilly still made by Copper Still Co. So that's the whole rundown of the in thumper infusers on
Right.
where it started and where it came from. I was at
Yeah.
the forefront of it.
Yeah, it
and,
progressed
and
pretty quickly. I think
it did.
the bypass, we were still on the moonshine group, and somebody was having trouble with smearing and stuff. So I posted that bypass thing, and it's like, man, the next day, North Georgia, Ace, everybody was
It,
producing,
it,
putting out
it,
these bypasses, man,
it
and I
make
was,
it makes sense. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? Like it
it's
makes sense.
definitely logical, and it made a lot of sense to me. Back in the '80s when I did it, man, it was just, it's just what you had to do. It's like I can't put a drain on this little fucking keg,
Right.
and how else am I going to do it? So I just create a bypass. So yeah, it worked
Hey,
out. It worked out really
a
well.
lot of things are out of necessity.
Yep.
Ingenuity. We're going to make it happen, like whatever it takes. And a lot of times we're just sitting around trying to figure out just how can I make this a little easier on myself? How can I make this better?
Right.
Without because everything that you have to sacrifice is money. It's always money. Whether even if you don't make any money off of it, still that's money and time you put into it. You're
Well, I mean,
sacrificing.
how you going to patent, you know,
Yeah.
home distilling equipment? You're going to go
Yeah.
in the woods and say, "Hey,
Yeah.
you can't use that bypass."
You can't use
That's
that.
my patent. But I got
No,
to
no,
take
no,
it
no,
off
no,
there.
no. Yeah, yeah,
I don't see it
and
happening.
like you said, no matter when you come up, if you look back, I'm sure it's been done. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah,
somebody did it,
who was
and
trying to patent horse head or
dude, yeah, I seen that.
whiskey cap or whiskey helmet or some shit? It's like, man, they've been calling it that forever. I
I
can't remember
appreciate the
who that
kind
was.
words, lip service.
Yeah, I
Peach,
can't remember who
I
that
tell you,
was.
peach brandy really ain't my thing. My things, I love making banana brandy. It just everybody loves peach. So when I first got into this real heavy, um, and I don't want to say got into it, but like really started sharing with people because all of a sudden after Tech Talk comes, we start meeting all these people at the jam, finding people that live close to us, guys not too far out of state. So now you're part of a community. So now you have somebody to share your products with. We're
Right.
all meeting up and we're sharing. So I got really heavy into making banana brandy.
You
It's
remember
one of
the
my
news groups? Were you in the news groups back in the day
no,
and the bulletin
no,
boards and all that?
nope.
Oh, I was
I,
into a lot of
I never
that.
did. I still don't. I haven't done a whole lot of Facebook groups. I just
Oh,
because
I'm
I
talking about back in the '90s, the news
no
groups.
no 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 no. Back in the '90s, I was a teenager, bad Santa. I
Oh,
was.
okay. Oh
I
yeah, I
mean,
was.
I was drinking moonshine. So
Oh yeah, I was.
I was drinking moonshine. Then that's how I first got introduced. So Phil Billy come back from South Carolina, North Carolina once. He had these little jars. He's like, "You ever had moonshine?" I'm 15, dude. I drink piss out of an elephant's trunk if I thought it'd get me drunk. And so I'm like, "No, but I want to try it." And he gives it to me. It's just this little bottle, and I drink the whole thing. And he's like, "No, no, no, no! You guys will drink the whole thing." But what's done is done. And dude, I was hooked. And then forever you don't know about moonshine. It's just not something you hear about. So I'm in a city. My friends ain't making moonshine. They all got loud stereos and
Right.
smoking blunts.
Yeah.
And so you
Yeah,
don't
that's
know
something you
anything
only do if you grow up like where I'm from, in the mountains where it's just kind of, something that everybody just kind of does, or you either make it or you get on your bike and drive to the bootleggers and get it, or
and
both.
right. And then just like a lot of people, the show comes out and you're intrigued. You know what I'm saying? Even though it's a show. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yes.
never going to confuse a TV show for real life. And
Right.
anybody that does, it's like you got to remember, man, TV show,
Yeah.
TV
It's a
show.
show.
You got to remember, it's a TV show. Like some of it's quality knowledge, some of it's TV show. So,
All right. I know y'all have done quite a few different things. Here was our first question from Michael. What do you think about using feed molasses for rum and making your own sweet feed?
so I've never made my own sweet feed, so I
So
can't
I can't
comment on
believe
that.
that you and Phil never made your own sweet feed.
I have no. It's just
of all the things you've made. I mean, Fruit
yeah.
Loops. I mean,
No, we've never made our own sweet
Lucky
feed.
Charms, but no
I guess
sweet feed. Yeah,
I'll present it and I'll go on about it. As far as feed molasses, it makes good. It makes
yeah,
good
it makes
liquor.
fine. Yeah, just
Um,
don't get the kind that's used for fertilizing or
yeah,
something. The
just make
lowest
sure
grade.
it's sulfur free. You just
Yeah,
make sure it's
C
sulfur
grade. I
free.
think I posted a
And
chart a lot of places. Actually, I might have
if
that
you can
here,
get the
but
food grade, you will notice a huge taste difference
yeah,
between the food grade and the feed grade. Letter mark. You'll notice a huge
later,
difference,
Mark.
and you'll be like, "Look, man, this is worth paying. Whatever it costs extra, it's worth it. Just the smoothness and the quality, and just the sweetness that comes through on with food grade molasses, it's worth it. But if all you can get is the feed grade, bro, it'll make liquor. It'll make a fine liquor too. It's just like anything else, man. It depends on what you do with it. Like, you could give me and Gordon Ramsay some dozen eggs each, and I'm just scrambling up and eating them real quick, man. Um, if you can, like, see here, we get that what is it? That Caribbean black pearl is
Right.
what we get here.
And
It's hard to
that's
find.
either a C or the next grade above that. I haven't. I think it's like a C grade. It's good. It's a food
Yep.
grade, and but when you start getting into the grades that are higher than that, I mean that's what they make the cookies and everything with. So that's the
Yes.
perfect food grade to get at a good price. You go up a grade, man, and you double in price, literally.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it
But
gets
in
like
the difference between the black pearl and I guess we'll just say the black strap is the price difference isn't a whole lot. Like we sell it, it's like $50 a gallon when we sell it because about most of that is shipping. Like a
right,
gallon of molasses weighs about 12 to 13 pounds, about 12 pounds for a gallon of molasses.
right.
And so, when it comes to shipping out, you're looking at 20, $25. You have about $15 a gallon into it. So a lot of things that we sell, we just sell to offer to people and we don't really make any money off of it
Right. Yeah,
by
your
the end of
margins are
it.
pretty
And
pretty
we just
tight
we
if
offer it
any
and
at
we're like,
all.
yeah, okay, come back when you need something else. You know what I'm saying? But you need this little stuff like we sell fermenters and we make zero money off fermenters, very little off corn. It's just a lot of it is like, hey, we can get these at a decent and we can help people out and get these, and then we try to make a little bit of money other places. So
Yeah.
I've never made my own sweet feed. I'm intrigued. I just I'm not a big rum guy. I don't like that molasses, so it's not
Well,
something that I would divulge into. So
I've tried the sweet feed from just buying the sweet feed, and that
just
pretty
like
much turned me against sweet feed design. So
I,
I'm not a big fan of it. So I'm not sure if I would go to the expense of trying to replicate it, maybe without some of the nutrients. See, they put a lot of nutrients in those for cattle and stuff, and
yeah,
and vitamins and things like that. That's not really very conductive for adding to your distillate into your fermentation. It's just not something that you need or that doesn't taste good even after it's done. So yeah, after I've tasted sweet feed shine, I was never really that set on doing it. It sounds interesting, but I just soon do an all grain or just, if I'm going to do something like that, just make a true run.
I've
You know,
noticed when it comes to sweet feed that you're there's either people that are just like, dude, I love it, I do it all the time, it's all I do, I love sweet feed, and then there's this side of the fence that's like, man, it just ain't my deal. I'm not, I don't
yeah,
want to mess with it. And a lot of people that are like, I don't want to mess with it, tried, and they just didn't like the end product or the stuff you had to go through to use it.
right.
And like you said, like man, all the same amount of work goes into making a fine brandy or making an all grain. Like I can do the same amount of work. I know what I'm going to get. So it's one of those things. I suggest you give it a try. Like you don't
Yeah,
know unless you
like
try.
you're
Give it a
saying
try.
here, do an all grain, like you normally would an all grain, and then at the end, just start adding some molasses, and maybe wait until you get a all grain that doesn't convert well, and you got a low gravity. Maybe pull that molasses out when you run into that situation and start dumpy dump, and
Yeah,
until your
it's
gravity gets up there, and just see what you think about it.
kind of somewhat. There was a term these fellas was what rumsky, right? They
Yeah,
just corn and molasses, and It was calling it a rumski.
Well, I was wondering if there was a term for that. I couldn't.
Yeah, so it was calling it a rumski. It was just corn, grain, and molasses, and just making a whiskey and a rum, and I think they was throwing it in a used once barrel. So they was making they called it a rumski.
Right.
But you got to play, man. Like that's how you find out what you like.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You got to experiment and try things.
I like brandies. Like if I'm going to make me something to drink, it's going to be a brandy. So I cut my teeth real heavy on banana. I've had banana brandy explode in my face out of the fermenter, thanks to Phil Billy.
Oh yeah.
and he put the cap on and forgot to take it off. We was doing banana wine, and he's like, "Oh, just pop it off there." And I just popped it open, man, and it.
Yeah, I heard. Was that in the garage? It was everything.
It was in the garage. It was out back on the porch. Because like at first it got me a little bit, and I was like, I'm gonna take this out back. I'm gonna take the lid off real slow and I'm let it gas out, like a soda or like a pop when you're opening it up. And I went to do it, and it just shot everywhere. It was everywhere. It was terrible.
Yeah, I remember hearing about.
So we had to re-ferment that again off video just to finish the end part of the video,
right?
Because it all went
Hold
everywhere.
on, Gary. Cold Coolers Banquet, a jar of some fresh corn shine. That sounds good. As a matter of fact, that's about time to go. There we go. And a little more easy peach.
Yeah, so I'm going to do a little banana brandy this year. It's been a while. It's been a few years since I've done one, and like I said, it's what I got. It's what I really got me intrigued in bananas, and brandy was bananas. I watched the old traditional Uganda Wargi videos, not the 1960s gin that they created out of it for marketing. I'm talking about the traditional tribes, women making it, using bananas, putting them in stacks, tying them with ropes. And so if you've never seen those videos and you're real intrigued about banana brandy, I suggest you do that. And one of the things about the banana was it's such a pronounced sour flavor when you cook bananas.
Yeah, it's definitely it's a different dark note. When I did mine, I got a real grungy, just a dark note. It wasn't bad. I mean, it wasn't bad at all. It was just I did use brown sugar with it, so I had some. It was a rum, a banana rum, you could say, and I didn't use any regular sugar. It was just all regular brown sugar.
I'm just a cane. I just use a straight white cane sugar.
Yeah, I use the dark brown, sugar, and to give it that rummy, flavor.
Give it that little bit of kick. Well, and that balances out that sourness of the bananas because
it did. It made a very unique flavor. And you've tried it, but you tried it with my root beer. That was my root beer base.
Okay.
So. But alone, I just didn't like it alone. It wasn't bad. It just wasn't knocking my socks off, and I was like, what would pair well with this? So
yes, you have to balance that sourness out of it, and that's what a lot of people, they'll try it and they're like, I just don't like it because sour cooked banana is a hard flavor to like, especially in a distillate and it's cooked. And it could be different. One thing I do, I use bread yeast with my bananas. It gives it that banana bread, nutty finish, I feel like, on the back end. Gordon Shiner had a question about bringing more banana to the front.
Yeah, I'm behind on the question. I was going to try to get caught up. And
you're all good.
Mark Turner, what's up? Let's take care of these real quick, and then we'll get back on bananas. What's going on, Marcel? I'm sorry I'm behind, but I want Big Eaze to get a chance to talk, and I'm not going to interrupt. I'm trying not to interrupt.
We're we're all over the place, but
what's going on, Michael? What's up, James?
One of the things that people do are they'll use 99 bananas in their thumper, or just use like a nice concentrate.
Right.
Because when it comes to bananas, we are trained that when we smell and taste banana, it's not like eating a banana. You get one off the shelf and you eat it. It's not the same as like a banana candy or, a banana pop or whatever. If you try it, we've been so conditioned to get that artificial banana flavor that regular bananas just don't pop like they normally should. Right. So So we're chasing that artificial flavor, and a lot of times that 99 banana is similar to that, a concoction that you can make with a nice artificial heavy concentrate will really help smooth out and sweeten up that the bananas. I'm doing a banana brandy video now. I've held on to it long enough. It's time. So I
Awesome.
got one going. I'm gonna show all my tricks and everything I do
Definitely plug,
with it.
your website so everybody can come watch your videos and stuff.
Hey, like my videos, they all go on Philbilly Moonshine. Uh, they'll all go on there, and anything on the website, you gotta go to philbillymoonshine.com.
That's right, right
Like I
here.
said, me and Philbilly started that a long time ago.
Now
And
you and Phil Billy had a little business before you all got into this. Y'all used to be some computer
oh
geeks,
yeah,
just like me.
we owned a computer store in downtown Dayton on 3rd Street for about 5 years, and we'd fix computers. We also did computer recycling at the time, so we'd go recycle computers, take ones that were fixable, and we'd fix them up. You would never think by looking at us like, man, them two
Yeah,
dudes
I knew early
fix
on when I
computers.
started watching Phil Billy stuff, and he's talking about the rat getting in there and pissing all over his North Bridge. I'm like, this dude's a little smarter than what he lets on, man. These
Yeah,
guys,
yeah.
these guys know a little bit more than what they profess.
And so we were
Yeah,
all building, fixing, programming, just
yeah,
anything with computer. About
yeah. I
five
did all
years.
that shit. I took basic computer language in like '83. I was programming in '83. A lot before everything happened. Basically, I was on a Commodore 64 writing
Yep.
basic code.
Uh,
Yeah, then
Linux and Ubuntu and all
yeah,
that,
yeah.
all the
I
fun stuff.
learned I learned basic, and then we I did DOS, MS DOS, and learned all. It took a college course on both, basic and then DOS, and then of course I guess Windows 3.1 came out not too long after that. And I was already hacking. I've got hack software for Commodore 64s, man. I
Yeah,
was I was hacking back in the
it goes all the way back.
in the 80s. Yeah.
So yeah, we did that, and like I said, we ran computer recycling. We still do computer recycling, but we've really gotten
Oh,
into.
so y'all still have that short store?
Oh well, we don't have the store. Like we closed
Okay.
down the computer store. We had a warehouse over on the west side of Dayton, which is in the ghetto, and then we ended up getting rid of that just because like price of gold crashed, and computer
Right.
recycling really took a dive. And after I had gotten hooked up with my buddy Mac and old Rigsby, uh, you know, I, they showed me how to how I can make solder copper and turn shit into cake stills.
Right.
So I got with them, and I made my first cake still, and I took it over to Phil Billy's, and we're running liquor in it. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, dude, I made this. You know what I'm saying? Like it's this
Right.
simple, and we already knew how to solder because we would solder components on motherboards.
Right.
Like we would fix old computer screens by
Right.
replacing capacitors and relays. We did all that before, so we already had a little grasp of solder, and we didn't realize like you could solder copper pipe. I don't
Yeah.
easy with some practice. It's easy. Anybody could do it with just some practice.
Yeah. I
Uh,
got my initiating into that plumbing, and working. I built houses and remodeled houses
yeah, see,
before I got
I did
into
roofing
brazing.
and siding and
Yeah, I did all that,
carpentry, but I never did
remodeling
any
and
plumbing.
everything,
I did
and
electrical, so
did
I had no
electrical
idea.
and plumbing both, and learned to solder. I basically redid my dad's whole house. The one we renovated at my dad's house in
Yeah,
Pikeville, and over no property. We totally gutted it and redid it, and I re-plumbed and rewired the whole place. And I've always done a lot of plumbing with the builders and stuff that I worked with. They'd have somebody that was certified, of course, and I just help them with the pipe and
right.
solder, and it was a lot of fun.
It's a solid life skill that
Going
everybody
on, Scott?
because it is definitely something that comes in handy. And then
Busy.
the computer recycling kind of took a dip, and so he started making cake stills and saw the Tennessee Thumpers were real big, and it's like, man, if you can solder pipe, you can make this. And so we just started
Yep.
doing little things here or there, and then Phil Billy started selling items, and it's like, well, man, the computer recycling ain't doing real good. Let's create some stuff. Let's see what we can create. So I was like, I got to looking at the Vevers, and the Vevers really need upgrades. Like that is one thing. You buy a
Yeah,
Vever, you're going to have to upgrade it if you want it to be a great. I mean, it'll make liquor, but if you want it to make good liquor, you got to put some upgrades on it. So I was like,
definitely. You have to. I mean, it's essential. You definitely just have to. It's not.
we,
I mean, you can get by with it as
yeah,
is,
oh yeah, it will make liquor,
but
but
it's going to give you fits, and it's going to be a lot of work, especially trying to keep up with
yeah.
that condenser.
And so I was
And
like, man, how
that
can
little
we make
teeny
the
condenser. I mean, it's
oh
just
no 3 pot that little 3 pot?
yeah, the little teeny condenser. If
Yes,
you run that, is just
even
so
on
hard.
the football, it's kind of like a reverse worm where you put your water through the coil and it condenses in the jacket.
Right, right. It's a canister. It's a nice
Yeah,
canister
and
condenser with the coil inside.
it makes liquor, but and saw them like, how can we make this better? And so I got the idea to come up with a thumper jar for it.
Right.
And so I sourced parts from China through eBay and I created a stumper jar. And we came out with it, man, and I couldn't get parts fast enough for that. Everybody wanted a thumper jar for their pepper, and
Yeah, the
I
jar
don't
rings are
blame them.
big.
And
Yeah,
then,
it does help a lot. And
me and Rick,
I did the same. I did the canister. I got smearing for my canister, so I
oh
know the little
yeah,
loop in there must have gone up and down and around because I got smearing bad from it, so I didn't use it
yeah, that
long.
thing it's crazy because it just collects on it and puddles and then runs out.
Yeah, I mean that little coil
Yeah,
inside, your actual distillate and your vapor is going through like a flexible stainless pipe that's just all the way wound inside there,
yeah
and
no, it,
and
no,
the
inside,
liquid circulates around that, in the whole
yeah.
canister.
Well, no, inside the football column, it's opposite. Your cooling liquid goes through your stainless coil,
Yeah, right.
and
That's what I'm
and
talking about. Yeah,
yeah, and your liquor condenses on the outside of that coil.
is it?
Yes, yes, it's the Vever football condenser is I call it a reverse worm. Your water goes through your coil, and the vapor condenses on the outside of that coil as it travels out of your pot. It's
I'll have to
insanity.
check mine. I'm not sure. I was thinking it's the opposite of that.
No,
So
like because
I'll
you
have to check it out and see.
that the stainless line in there is connected to your water in, your water out, and then
Right.
just that vapor just travels over that line and condenses and drips down into the bottom of that canister and it flows out the bottom.
Interesting.
It's almost like a deflag, like putting
Right.
like it reminds me of a work chiller. You're running cold water inside of a vapor path, and it's wild. Yeah, you have to go look at it. You'd be like, hey, man, that's that big ugly dude's right.
So
And
is there like a baffle in it to keep it all from just going through, or
no, it comes through and it just cools. Like it's just there's enough. They got it packed in there. There's a lot of coil in there,
yeah,
so the vapor can't get through. And if you're running too hard, you'll blow vapor, just like anything else. And it's also
well,
why on them, if you pushing it just too hard, you're blowing vapor.
right.
You're spurting and you're blowing vapor because there's nothing really restricting your vapor path other than how hard you're running your
Interesting.
still.
I've never taken one apart, and I thought I saw a diagram on one showing it, but maybe I looked at it backwards.
And yeah,
Hey,
unless
I'm
they
not
change
always
it,
right.
unless they
Also, speaking
unless
of
they
which,
change
I
it.
think
That's how the old model was, anyways.
last week we were talking about molecular sieves, and we were talking about ethanol and water, and how this molecular sieve traps the ethanol and lets the water through. Well, it's actually the opposite. It's letting the water through and trapping the ethanol. Ethanol is a bigger molecule than water, so I got that wrong, and I want to make sure that everybody notes that. After I read it, I was trying to think of, well, what is the size of molecular sieve that you would need? And so I started getting into it and reading. I'm like, are you kidding me? All this time I thought ethanol was actually um, a, a, a smaller molecule than the water molecule, but actually water is smaller than the ethanol molecule. So it's the water that goes through the sieve and the ethanol that gets trapped. So yeah, a little correction there. I try to research everything,
Got to get
and
it right, but you
I've
don't know.
always been wrong about.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've been wrong about that.
that's for
Yeah,
sure.
Easy's a jar pusher. What's going on,
I
Mitch?
will some jars, man. If you give me the
What's going on,
chance,
Jeff?
like You come over and be like, hey, try this, try this. Hey, have you tried this? Have you tried this guy's stuff? Try that, try that. Like, it's just what you
Yeah,
do. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Like,
What's going on, Tyler? Hey, Jeff.
you got to be a giver.
What's going on, Joseph?
So, uh, one thing I did learn when I was doing bananas early on, if you allow yourself plenty of headspace, because they're going to swell like oats,
Tons.
tons of headspace. But if you puree your bananas, they don't require near as much headspace.
Now, question: did you add amylase when you did yours, or did you just use the sugars that were in there? Did you try to convert any starches from your bananas, or did you just
I
use
didn't
the
try to
sugars?
convert any of the starches.
Right,
I just use what I like to do is I put my bananas in my freezer
right,
and let them sit for however long until I get to them. That way, when they come out, man, they're mush. You know what I'm
right,
saying?
right,
So I
right,
like to really try to let it get all those most of the conversion done naturally. So there's
right.
not really.
Pectic enzymes, you use those in them?
I will use pectic.
Right,
You
right.
know, I don't use it by the
Yeah, I use
instructions.
less than. Yeah, I always use less than
Yeah,
required.
see, not me. I use more.
Yeah,
I,
I
I'm a.
nutrients kind of got me scared because nutrients, if you overdo them, it can impact your flavor.
I've never
So
used a
depending on the
nutrient.
nutrient
I've never used a nutrient ever in my life. Have I
on
used
anything
nutrients?
ever. Wow.
I've never done a sugar wash.
Oh,
So yeah, I mean, I have no desire. I mean, can I do it? Yeah, but I have no desire to do a sugar wash.
well, some of your
Like,
brandies need it too. You need
and
to get you some DAP and
it's
try it on your
I've never
brandies.
needed it, and I'm under the impression like there's enough nutrients in that fruit to feed me and keep me going. There's enough for them yeast. It'll be all right.
Yeah, that yeast, it likes the yan and fan, man. It likes that yan and fan.
uh,
You gotta keep them babies happy.
and I'm a bread yeast guy, man. I use it on everything. Like I'll put
Yeah,
bread yeast on
I did for
anything.
decades,
Give me that
decades.
saf instant. I'll put it on fruits and grains. And if I do a rum, I'll put it on that. I
Yep,
don't care what it
that's
is.
all I used for a long, long time. That's all I could get forever. I mean, you go to
And
the grocery store, you're not finding Red Star Premier Rouge,
yeah,
you're not finding, good quality Quebec yeast at the AMP,
yeah,
or Kroger.
we go to Gordon or Rural King. That's where you get your saf
Yeah,
at.
well, back in the day, man, Eastern Kentucky was bad enough. I mean, we couldn't even get malted grades. If you wanted malted, you malted it yourself,
Yeah, it's multi yourself.
And back in the 70s and 80s, man, there was no Amazon, there was nothing. You just got what the store gave you. You got Martha White, and your Fleischmann's and your Domino's, and you made what to do.
Yeah. Or it's like, you know what? We're just gonna leave this open and let nature ferment it for us.
Yep, I didn't know enough about that at the
But,
time either. I just used that old Fleischmann's and whatever
yeah,
yeast I could get, bread yeast.
I learned about wild yeast when I did the hillbilly grappa. When I did my hillbilly grappa, um, I just I watered and sugared it, and I was like, I'm gonna let this cool. Come out back out tomorrow.
Who's that?
I'm surprised he showed up for anything.
Well, he was late. He got here at 8:19.
He's
I'm about an hour behind showing all these. I'm sorry, but I wasn't getting the
he's been
conversation straight.
training. He's got good reasons. He's been training. He's training hard for his fight against old Matt Brown. So
Hey, that's the same issue I'm having. I've forgotten more than I know.
all the time, man, all the
I'm
time.
forgetting a lot, and it's getting bad. And my sister had dementia before she passed away. My dad's got it from old age. My sister had an early onset frontal temporal, and so when I forget shit, it really fucks with me. I can't stand it, so I'm trying to stay up on things and relearning. I'm having to relearn a lot of things that knew. Like a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about sassafras. I couldn't come up with saffrol. I've talked about fucking saffrol being toxic for fucking years, man, and now
Yeah,
I can't remember these simple things.
it comes and
Funnel.
goes,
Took
man.
me 30 minutes to come up with the fucking term funnel, man. I was beating myself up. I was like,
It
what
comes and
the fuck
goes.
is it called, man? The cone feeds the living. I was like, yeah, it was bad. Yeah. So I can relate. What's going on, Mikey? So somebody was asking who's going to the popcorn jam. Y'all going this year?
I've never been. I normally go to Beattyville, but they postponed Beattyville
Need
due
to
to all
get
the
Donnie
flooding.
on here. Speaking of which,
Um, Him and Bruiser are doing some cool things together, man. Like him and Bruiser have collabed on some things here recently. So
Cool. I
it's
saw some video of that. Yep.
but yeah, so normally I'm like, ah, I didn't realize that it was up in Tennessee and not over in North Carolina. I thought it was over North Carolina just because I don't remember anything. So I'm really thinking about shooting down for the at least Saturday. I would really like to get down and at least see Saturday.
There's the man,
Oh, Donnie.
Mr. Donnie.
His health must be better. So I'm really glad to see him feeling better.
Yeah, me too, man. He
That tech really kicked his ass. So
yeah, did.
glad
Sure did.
glad he's there. So. But,
Oh.
oh, he's talking about me
Yes,
and
we
Phil
will.
Billy. Yeah, we went through a stretch of trying things. Like it's always funny watching Phil Billy try to eat something you don't want to, but then he'll be like, "Oh, I ate some car cheese, made me sick."
The floorboard cheese we made fun
Yeah,
of. Console cheese, yeah. Fried chicken. I don't think I got any of the fried chicken shot.
It was kind of greasy. Like it had a greasy mouthfeel to it, like whatever they used.
So like I like the buttered popcorn and shine was awesome.
Yeah,
I've got some of that up there. I've got a bunch of y'all's post flavored stuff up there. I take a little sip of it from time to time. What's going on, Joe?
oh, Joe's coming down. Yeah, so we're having me and Phil are throwing our first annual Moonshine Festival in Dayton, Ohio on July 11th.
And it's gonna be the same time Tracy's having his grand
I
opening, man.
know. We didn't
We gotta figure something on that.
we didn't choose it. So well, hey,
Oh
the
yeah.
festival's only on a Friday, opening all weekend long.
Yeah, so we can do yours Friday and go over to Tracy's on Saturday.
Yeah, it's on the way home. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? I
yeah,
don't know if it is, but we're just gonna say it's on the way home.
yeah. Yeah, we definitely gotta try to hit both for sure.
Yeah, I might follow y'all to it.
I think that'd be a great start, or just find a good cob recipe. Usually you have a little bit more corn than oats and barley. So, maybe a 50 corn, 25 oat, 25 barley, or maybe a 70 corn, 15, 15 or something, keep it a little less messy.
And
But something like that, would be fine. And then just making sure you got enough malted barley to do your conversions and use that
yeah.
liquid to go along with it. And if it doesn't convert well, like I say, just keep doing grains. And if you keep that molasses on hand, and if one doesn't work out, throw some of that molasses to it.
And if you're not sure on how much molasses to use your
Use your
triple
hydrometer.
scale.
Yeah.
Yep, use your triple scale to tell you how much you need to use.
Yeah, that's why I keep preaching to them to make your own recipes.
Yeah.
Everybody wanting a recipe. It's like that hydrometer will make any recipe you want.
Make your own. Like, how much fruit do I use? How much you got?
Yeah, that's right. Use every bit you have.
Like, you need to stretch it, then use a pound, and then
Right.
use the hydrometer to tell you how much sugar to use.
Right.
I've got
a little
enough
chart.
fruit?
I've got some charts that, from here to here just to get you in the ballpark.
Generalize, because
Right.
it's always
And
going to
I
be
like starting at the higher end. So if it says 3 to 6, start with 6. Pounds per gallon, and then work your way down.
When you're going with fruit, man, it takes a lot of fruit to get your ABV up. Yeah. Like, let's be for real. Like, it takes a lot. Like, you'll be like, okay, I got 3 pounds per gallon. I'm not really there, am I? I'm sitting at like 0.03 point. It's like, yeah, you better bump that up to 5, 6 sometimes, because and even if you can't have like a specific when it comes to your fruit, because next year's crop might have more sugars in it than this year.
Right.
Everything changes so much, and fruit keeps you guessing. And with grain, a lot of it's close. You don't have a whole lot of fall off. I'm not saying like every now and then you won't get some shit that just don't want to ferment, because you will run into some grains that you're just like, man, this stuff will just not ferment past this. And so, but yeah, the fruits can keep you guessing, and it's just it's its own world. It's like
Definitely, and
anything else.
that's why there's never like one set number, because there's a low and a high end for how sweet is your fruit. You know,
Yep.
a lot of people, when they do strawberries, they think that strawberries are actually have more sugar than they do.
No.
Strawberries have very little sugar. It's not a lot.
And a lot of people mash in before their fruit is ripe enough. They don't let it ripen enough. And it's like, look, man, it should be damn near rotten. That's when it's ripe enough. When it's damn near rotten.
Um, I do know that George is a good question. George, when he sold his channel, so
Really?
back in the day, he sold his channel to an outfit, and when he did, he had a non-disclosure agreement, so he couldn't, do for a certain amount of time. Now, I'm not sure how long that is. I think it's passed, and hopefully, he'll start, getting involved and doing some things. I'm not sure if he's going to or not, but he had the NDA, so he couldn't do anything else. Couldn't really. His hands were basically tied, as well. He just kind of stopped. And so hopefully we can try to get him back in there. That's good. I'll try to get in front of George. That'd be pretty cool.
He might be like, hey man, I put my time in, I'm done.
Yeah, I think that might be where he's at. He
made
bank.
So much in. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? You can only put so much in. And it's like you put a lot in, like you put a lot of years in this, you put a lot of times, a lot of time, like you said, like who get to looking, like you pulled up 115 episodes. That's 115 times that sat here and did a show over the last 3 years,
and that doesn't include the prep time, and getting people on the show, bringing in guests and contacting them and finding their contact and looking them up and making little presentations, finding pictures,
right,
and searching their Facebook page, pulling up some pictures, maybe make a little video or show a little YouTube video of them and stuff like that, man. It's just
you do all this for no money. Like you don't get paid. It costs you money. It costs you money for the stream.
We're everybody thinks that we're getting rich doing this stuff, and I don't make a penny. We don't make a penny doing this.
No, don't make nothing off the videos. Don't make nothing off any of that stuff.
So if you want to help keep this going, go to philbilly.com, buy some.
Yeah, buy some.
Get some.
Get you one. Get you one.
What's going on, Hillbilly?
But that's what it's all about. Like, there's bigger things than trying to milk everybody for every dime they have. So,
cool.
And so I think Philbilly Still was the first one that he put that infuser on.
Yeah.
And I liked how he just made his own out of copper. Instead of just a sight glass, he was able to make it taller. So Philbilly didn't have to. You don't have to fill it as much. They said that was one of my drawbacks with the sight glass. Like if it was me, I'd have a big old giant long sight glass. Yeah.
Or just a spool, with a side glass at the top. That way, when you're getting near the top.
Yeah. Or one at the bottom. That way, when you get down to the bottom, But
right.
When I run my infuser, I like to, every time I put a new jar down, I like to dump a little bit into my thumper. Some people like to dump a lot and let it run. And that's how I was at first. And then, just from playing and doing it, every time I put a new jar down, I open my infuser just a little bit and let some run into there. So I'm constantly putting flavor in.
Right.
And like you was talking earlier, a drain on your thumper is good because you can get all that water that's been left over from before you're dumping. That way you're not diluting your flavors and any alcohol that you're infusing during your run.
I'm sorry, go ahead. I thought you did.
If you could put a drain on your thumper and while you're running your infuser, do it. Run you a hose. Drain it out while you run.
Yeah, thumpers and infusers both need drains, and I've got an inline infuser, and it's the Wishbone one I posted years ago, and in the bottom of it, there's a drain, and it's where the trap was on the U,
Mm-hmm.
And so in that I've got a valve that goes directly into my pot, and I can take my infusion, whatever I'm infusing with, and once it's got a lot of water and it's diluted, I open that up and retort it right back into the pot, and then close both of the valves up, and then add more infuser and shut it.
It's kind of like when you're using a gin basket. A lot of what you're using in that gin basket winds up flowing back down into your pot or your thumper, but they also have drains on them, so you can get a lot of the water out and let it refill again, so it's not so much diluting your backflow. Right. But yeah, a lot of the gin basket is that basket is backflowing water, flavored
Yep.
water from the botanicals back into your thumper, usually
Yep.
after a thumper. And so a lot of people don't understand that, don't realize that. Like you're going to wind up with a lot of backflow, from back reflux from your gin
Yeah,
mask.
I just thought it was crazy throwing it away. You know, a lot of people take that infusion
Yeah.
and the bottom of it, they just pitch it once they drain it and refill it. And I'm like, I'm not throwing that away. There's still a lot of good flavors in
There's
that, a
good
lot in the
flavors in
water and in the infusion juice. So I just retort it right back into the pot, or I could retort it back into the thumper as well. But that's just set up right above it, just a little short cable.
Yep.
Boom, boom. Open the mouth up, drain it in
Right
there,
back in.
close it, and reinfuse, and keep right on going. I need to get a pic of it. I think I've got it on my phone, but I don't have it on on my PC. I'm gonna have to
I
upload that.
built a gin basket for a feller, and I made it 3 pieces, so it came apart. It came apart into 3 pieces, and it had a removable stainless screen inside. So he had the option to take the screen all the way out.
Right.
And I got a video on. I'm just waiting on it to go on the website.
Cool.
And then the top had a 4-inch cap with a 2-inch port on it and a hook. So like you could do a lot of different things with this gin basket. And it's all about versatility. Like how can I make one thing do 2 or 3 different things at the same time? Because I'm more likely to buy something if it's got several uses. Like I can do it like this. I can pull that screen out and just pack it full. I can leave the screen in. So it's just all about a little versatility.
Awesome. I'm trying to find my old stills. So.
Trying to find that picture, huh?
Yeah. Now he's the king of mini brandy, not just peach.
Everybody's only tried my peach.
Was one that you started with a lot, I guess.
No, it was the banana. The peach is what I've been passing out the past couple of years because peaches were real easy to get, and then everybody loves peaches. Everybody loves peaches. As soon as you hand somebody a jar of good peach brandy, they know it. And so I was on a mission to pass my jars out to anybody that wanted one, in hopes that it finds the right person and somebody's like, hey, I want this on the shelf. I want you to make this, and it's still my hopes. So, you'll see me passing out jars, man. And I'm like, I don't want nothing. I don't want nothing. Just in hopes that, you never know who it's going to go to or who it's going to help along the ways, I got a buddy. He got a jar and he made peach. And when he got to, he was talking to the owner. The owner gave him some peach that he made, and he tried it. And then my buddy's like, "Here, man, try this." And it was my peach. And he's like, "I can make it taste like this." And dude's like, "Oh, let's put this on the shelf." And so like it helped the fella along the way. That's just as good as it being mine. So that's what it's all about.
Yeah, let's see. Let me save these 2 pics here.
And yeah, just everybody loves peach, and it's something that everybody did. So I wanted to see if I could do my own thing with it, and bananas an acquired taste. Not everybody loves bananas, man. But
no, it is different. It's definitely a different distillate for sure. I remember. Yeah, the first time I did it, it's a different mash too. It's everything
I'm
about it.
intrigued as to what everybody thinks because, like I said, the first couple of years it was all about that. That's what I brought, and this was before the militia, before all the podcasts, before this new community. The community grew even bigger. Like it was a small TikTok community then. It was me and Rigsby and Phil Billy was in and so it just when you dump it goes back in.
So here's my setup. This is from a few years ago, but this instead of using the bypass on this setup, I use a diverter. So right here is a valve, and here's a valve. So when I come off the steel, and this is a deflegmator. So when I come off the steel here, and there's some copper mesh in here and also here. So when I come off, I can close this valve, open this valve, and just strip, just straight strip. And I can also strip and run it into this funnel or into this valve and run it straight back into the pot and just keep, redoing it. But I don't run it directly. I do pour. That way, you don't get any pressure building up. So you got to be able to release pressure. So once I open this up, if it starts spitting a little bit, you can open this valve up and just give it open air, and I can refill it. Now, this isn't for beginners, so don't try this at home. But so I can strip everything off here, and then when I get to the heart, see, I just close this. If I'm not stripping, if I'm just stripping off fours and heads, I close this and open this up, and this is my infusion spool here.
So look, this is
and it's got a valve up on top. See, and this is the valve on the bottom, and I can go directly from this into here, this little valve here, or I can go into it. Well, I've been going into a jar, and then I just pour it through this funnel back into the steel as I go. But this is the wishbone infuser I was talking about that's in line, and I came up with this maybe like a month before Wayne and Alan. Wayne at Ozark and Alan been working on an inline infuser. It's different than this, but just the principle of inline infusing. It's nothing new either. But and I came out with it, and everybody's like, "Oh wow," because it's just like a bomb. It sits there and percolates and bubbles, and it works great. But I did find that I want to the next time I'm going higher and using some longer spools so I can store more here and have more infusion flavors.
When this is a classic example when you've had some drinks and you're thinking of shit, write it down and draw it out.
Yep.
Because you're probably not going to remember all this the next day.
Yeah, but this thing, it works beautifully, man. I mean, I can just strip and do several runs. I do like cognac. I'll do several runs, and I just dump it right back into the back set and keep running it. And I pitch the, fours and heads each time. So I'm eliminating those. And it gets really good when you do that. You just keep redoing it in the same back set. Because what a lot of people make the mistake is when they make that second run, they proof it down with water. Well, you diluted half your flavor when you do that. So if you dump it back into that back set, you've got all that flavor, and you keep doing that, and it keeps getting better and better, man. It's awesome.
Now, if I was to ever strip a brandy, like if I did a brandy and I didn't like the way it come out, I would proof it down with the water just because I don't like the way the cooked fruit tastes. Like, I like the way the cooked fruit tastes. But what I would do is I would also macerate fresh fruit into that distillate before I reran it.
Right. Now, another thing I noticed that Philly just did the video on was Sweetwater. Use your Sweetwaters for proofing, and that way you maintain some of that flavor. You don't lose it all just by using like pure water. There's a lot of flavor in that Sweetwater and proof. So you're increasing your alcohol output at the same time. So you're getting that extra jar, by using the Sweetwater.
Yes, I forget who. I forget who was talking about Sweetwater long time ago when we had him on. It was probably Alan Bishop.
Probably.
It's it's a fine line in there when you're getting into that Sweetwater, because like if you think you get into it too soon, then it's going to be oily.
Right. Right.
And
usually 20 to 10 is the range that I've generally found it. But in brandies, it can change. You have different oils.
I've heard a lot of people, they go
or like Bloody Butcher. I'm sure that's different too.
Right. Everything's different. The more oils it has in it. I'm not a fan of Sweetwater. Once it gets down there, I don't like the way it tastes.
It gets lost though. It doesn't. But if you experiment this way, take like your regular distillate and pour X amount of water on it. Okay.
Yeah.
Take the same distillate
that with Sweetwaters.
You will get a little bit extra flavor and that proof. So you're getting that extra 20. Yeah. So you're getting another jar by using it, and it's is good or better than water. So why not? As long as you don't get, you don't want to overpower it. So
right. It's one of those things. Like, give it a try, see if you like it. You might like it, or you might be like, man, like
it might be too much, because it takes forever to get to the fucking Sweetwater, man.
Well, like when I'm running down tails, like if I'm running tails, that's proof. Like I'm running to that. Like I'm running it to 10,
Absolutely.
5. Like it all depends on how I'm feeling. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like why
Isn't it
not?
crazy seeing people throw 80 proof away? You know, they
Like,
run
oh,
it
I'm
down to
done.
the
I'm
tails
done.
and
It's like,
pitch.
what do you
I'm
mean? Like,
done. And
dude, you
at
you've
90,
got 5 gallons of tails there you can run out. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Like they're useful for
that's a
something.
lot of alcohol in there, man.
It is. You know,
Because
like let's be for real. Like say you had 20 gallons of mash and you did 5 gallon runs. By the time you did the 4 or 5 gallon runs, you could have a fifth run of those tails.
right.
And it's like, ha ha ha. And now it's high proof. So that tails run is going to yield twice the amount of what your other runs did. And it's like if you was to do that, you know, it don't work that way if you do like a 20 gallon run because
And
you know,
lower temperature. You don't have to run it as hot to start
right.
getting that
And
drip. You
it's
know?
just it's money. And you know,
Yeah.
it's I learned from distilleries that their tails, like where we cut off at tails, they run it down and they take those tails, and not all of them, but a lot of the big ones, they just filter them
Yeah.
and they use that liquor to make sipping creams,
Right.
chocolate milks, things like that. Anything that's thick and
Mm-hmm.
I don't it's thick and chunky. That's what they use their tails for because it's too much money to throw away. It costs too much to save up and rerun. So they put them in, and that's why when you try these sipping creams at places and you drink a bunch of them because you had a little too much of them, you feel like garbage the next day. It's because you're drinking tails. You're drinking
Or
trash
you know,
liquor.
I've been to some distilleries, man. You look out back and there's big, huge totes filled up, and it's like, what do you got in your
GNS.
totes back there? Tails. They save them, and they'll run them. You know, on the smaller ones.
Save
Now
and
I'm not
rerun.
talking about Jim
Yeah.
Beam and
Yeah.
Jack
Oh
and
yeah.
all
Oh
that. You
yeah.
know,
For sure. I mean, why
but
not?
your
Like,
craft distillers, absolutely. I mean,
yes.
and
You know,
even
like,
you know some ones that are kind of mid range getting up there
they
here
save
here
up.
in bourbon
They,
country. You know, I've
they
seen some
save up,
pretty good
man.
distillers. Jeff and I saw that
It's too much
not too
money.
long
You know,
ago.
it's too much money
Absolutely.
to let go to waste to not run out. And even if you're not using them, save them up, man. Like take you an old keg, you know. So see, I thought about adding a gin basket infuser, but I think I can just put stuff on top of one of the bubble plates. Um,
Absolutely. Well,
it works. You can put stuff in those bubble plates. You know,
absolutely.
gin basket's a little different. You're passing your vapors, so it's just and your gin basket's usually your last step before your condenser. So
Right. I wouldn't try to put any fruit on my bubble plates. I can't imagine trying to clean all that out.
oh yeah, that would have to be
Yeah, I
terrible.
wouldn't do that, no. But
Um,
yeah, just put it after it, you know, just elbow over and put your
and
gin basket in and it
you
doesn't
wouldn't be
have to
mad.
backflow. You can keep it drained, you know, and you can use different gin baskets that won't backflow, you know, or just keep it drained and keep it infused, or just use an infusion, you know, rig. You know, I like the copper ones better than the jars now, but
You know, I'm a straight thumper. Like, just give me a copper thumper, man, and I'll make magic with it. I
yeah.
don't need jars. I don't need 170, 180 proof.
The thing
I
about
don't
the
need.
thumpers infusing with the thumper is it takes so much infusion juice, you know, to fill and to get adequate amount in your thumper to get that level of infusion. Whereas, you know, the smaller, more concentrated. That's why I like those little
Yeah.
infusion, copper infusion with infusion ports and drains that Phil Billy made years
When
back. We talked about.
when you're running that infuser, try dumping a little bit with each jar instead of trying to dump a whole lot at one time because then
Right.
you're not trying to stretch it so far. You're like, oh, I got a new jar down here. Let me put a little bit of flavor into my thumper. Let's carry this flavor through. When it dies off while you're swapping jars, you're repriming that thumper each time. Each time you put a new jar, you're repriming. You won't go through so much infusion out of your dump.
Right.
It'll
Yeah, I try
stretch
to
it.
go through like half an infusion jar for every 2 jars that comes off,
It's,
you know.
and it'll say it gives you a nice constant throughout
Yeah.
instead of trying to stretch a big dump
Instead of
because
trailing it off. Yeah.
because like it falls off. Say you distill your flavor out just like with anything else. That's why infusers are great because you're able to just keep putting it in.
Good question. I'm trying to get through some of these. I'm skipping over some. I heard
Gordon, we talked about the
220.
99 bananas or the banana concentrate. Saying if you can get a solid banana candy, Don't be afraid to use candies, man. Candies are great.
Yeah. Or that a bottle of that banana liquor. See, I didn't know what that was when they were talking about that, on a podcast a few weeks
99
ago.
bananas.
Yeah, 99 banana. I was thinking that was some extract, and
no, it's
not
just
as
a
a
liquor.
liquor. I got something off Amazon. I couldn't remember what it was. I was saying it wasn't. It was something different, but yeah.
It's the same concept as using schnapps.
Yep.
You're using that. They got glycerin in them, and and those esters pick up really well in glycerin. And esters transfer real nice, and so they grab those flavors and they come through when it went through the distillate, and that's why. And even if you make your own infusion, don't be afraid to throw you a little bit of glycerin in your infusion. It will
Yeah, a
help.
lot of
It
people
will
are
help you.
anti-glycerin, and
Well, I don't put it in afterwards, but we're
right,
talking during distillation. Like, you put anything you want in that thumper. Anything
right.
you want, you can put
Well,
in there.
it's a natural product.
Yeah,
This isn't a chemically synthesized,
it's made from vegetables.
material. It's in the fruit naturally.
Yeah,
So you're just adding to it.
but yeah, it definitely works really well in your thumpers, your jar thumpers, your infusers. Don't be afraid when you're mixing up your concoction, man. Add you a little bit of glycerin in there. And yes, it's just vegetable glycerin. That's like, oh, which one? Like vegetable glycerin. That's
Yeah,
what they use. Like,
yeah.
and
It's fruits and
schnapps,
vegetables.
schnapps
It's
is
got
nothing but
everything.
liquor, glycerin, and flavor.
Yep.
They proof it down to nothing. They add glycerin, they add flavor, and they're like, oh, here's you a schnapps, and that's all it is. And if you put a couple drops in your post product, your post jar of liquor, you're going to notice such a difference in the mouthfeel. You're going to be like, man, it feels nice on the palate, and it's like, well,
Yeah.
that's what they do. You know what I'm saying? That's what they do.
Have to have Phil try my smoked sweet tater agave when I stop by. Well, I think Ian might want to try some of that too.
Hey man, if it's a jar, man, I don't think I've passed up a jar yet, unless
I've,
it's coffee. I pass up all coffee jars. Don't be offended. It's nothing to do with you and your abilities and who made it. I pass up all coffee jars.
you don't like coffee?
Not at all. And I know I'm
I've
not
I've
going to
never
like it.
been a coffee drinker as well. I've probably drank maybe 10, 15 cups in my life. And
It's
that was
not
when
my
I was young
deal.
and in
And
school to stay awake. I've never been a coffee drinker. But I will say, Mark Morgan gave me a quart of his coffee.
he's trying to give me a few
I
quarts.
think he gave it to me. I don't know. Maybe I just grabbed it and
Maybe
held on to it.
hey,
I think I just grabbed it and held on to it.
you acquired it. You acquired it.
Yeah,
So
well, and I drank pretty much most of that quart, and it was after I already had maybe a quart of something else. This was Himley Jam
that's different. If
last
you
year.
already had a
Yeah,
quarter of something else, it's different.
yeah. I was on my second quart, and I about polished that quart off, and I was man, I was hungover for 3 days. Man, I felt horrible. I definitely felt it. What's going on, Kimbo?
It's not my deal. I won't know if it's any
What's up,
good or
Kenny?
not. I just know I won't like it, and that's how I'm like, dude. It could be the best coffee. I won't know. I'm just gonna be like, this is disgusting, and so don't bother handing it to me. I'm not gonna
I
like
love the smell of
it. I
coffee,
don't. I
and
just
I love the smell of it. The taste I don't like. It's bitter as fuck, and I like it if you add a lot of milk and sugar. Is how I drank it when I was in school, and it was okay then. But I'm
you're
not sure
masking the
what they
flavor.
would call
It's
that
like
these days.
post flavoring your liquor. Like
Yeah,
you're
it's
masking the
like
flavor of your shitty liquor with all that sugar. Like like I
yeah, it
get
was
it.
sweet milk with a little coffee flavor. I think.
Yes, I'm good on that. And
What's going
that's one
on,
thing
Jimmy?
about chocolate alcohols. Like most of them taste like coffee.
No.
I've had only a handful that where you're just like, man, that tastes like chocolate, and it's always that dark coffee notes, and I'm just
Do
like, this
you
is
think they're using
terrible.
the cacao nibs on that, and that's what's doing it and giving it
Yeah,
that?
it's and I think they're going real dark with the
Because
flavor.
it's not a sweet. Yeah.
Yes, because they can't get that milk chocolate, that sweetness, because
Right.
obviously. And so it's just like they're doing what they can with what they got, and it just ain't my dig. So I mean, I'm not going to the store and buying post flavored alcohol, unless
No.
it's like we're out and about somewhere where we're not usually, and there's a jar I just gotta have. But for the most part, people bring me jars from a birthday party, all that. So again, we are having July 11th. Me and
Yep.
Philbilly, we're throwing a Philbilly Moonshine first annual festival, Moonshine Festival. It's going to be at Snickers Bar and Grill on West 3rd Street in Dayton, and this is out in the country. It's country setting. Any moonshiners that want to come set up tents, hang out for the day, it's going to be. I think it's going to be pretty relaxed with us just getting to hang out, and we're going to have a good time. So
I'm waiting for you all to make a post for that so I can
we're
share it.
we're working on
All right, I was looking
flyers.
for it. I was sitting there looking for a flyer, man. I'm like, I'm not seeing
Yeah,
it.
we're waiting to see who all's coming. That way we
Right.
can put everybody on
Okay.
it at one time,
Cool.
and then be like,
well, I'll be there. I'm going
we
there. It's going to be on a Friday night.
It's going to be on a Friday. We're going to run it. Probably start about 10 a.m. Friday, and run it till. I mean, the bar has to close at 2:30 in the morning. So there's.
I do need a camping spot.
So. Okay. If you got a camper
tent.
You know what I'm saying? If you got a tent, I got a place for you to put up a tent. Or not far from the place is Sycamore State Park. I believe they have camping grounds.
Cool.
Or my house, me and Philbilly live 20 minutes from there. So if you got a tent or a camper,
so where everybody, if there's going to be a bunch camping and tents and campers, let's all get together like we did at Farm to Bottle. That's fun as fuck.
I got plenty of room for people to put their campers and tents. We're 20 minutes from there, so
perfect.
It takes 20 minutes to get there from here, so it's going to be a good time, and hopefully it's going to be big, and then a couple of weeks after that, we're all going to be down in North Carolina for the jam.
What's going on, Jeff?
So I believe,
malting grains. It's it's not a real big pain in the ass, but it's time consuming and it takes space. So, I use sheets. I use like bed sheets. I'll lay some sheets out on the patio, and I'll take my grain and lay it out on it. Well, I'll soak the grain first. I'll soak the grain and let it sprout, and then I spread it out on the sheets and kind of let it air dry. And I've got a screen that I use. It's window screening. I did some window screening for my mom at her place. So I had some leftovers. So now I just use a screen, so it dries so much faster now. But you really want to dry it fast, and you want to stop that malting process when that radical, especially like in your corn, when that radical first comes out, you want to stop it, because if it continues to grow, it's going to continue to use amylase and starches from that grain, and the more that it uses, the less you're going to get in your alcohol and in your conversion later. So you definitely want to stop that radical just when it's like a eighth to a quarter inch long coming out of there. Stop that malt. Then that's on corn. Now the barley goes a little bit longer, and it's actually got like little fingerlings that come out of its radical, so you let it go a little bit longer. But yeah, that's what you want to do. And you want to make sure that once you dry it, you rub it and on that screen and loosen all those radicals off and kind of break them off there, because they are bitter. But yeah, it's a pain in the ass. When I talk about it, it reminds me of all the work doing it.
Yeah. It's one of those things that once you do it enough, you develop a system. It can become easier on you. It's still a pain in the ass. I don't know if all the work is worth it in the end, but again, it's dealer's choice.
With the amylase we got, and now being able to buy barley cheap, it's just it's liquid high temp and the liquid amylase, and now being able to use 2-row instead of needing 6, and you can buy get a better deal on that 2-row and get better flavor. It's just
everything's different nowadays. That's for sure. Like we're definitely we're living through the moonshine renaissance and boom all at the same time, and everything is we're in a much better place now.
Yeah, definitely. Sure. Absolutely. Well, let's see. Let me erase your questions. Oh, it doesn't show it here on this, but
false bottoms are legit.
Yeah, you put a boiling bag in here. On the bottom of this Vever, there's a little plate that goes in there, and it's got holes in it, and it'll keep your brew bag from hitting the bottom of your boiler and melting.
As soon as it does it will melt instantly. It will melt instantly and burn to the bottom of your pot. Like when they melt, it's terrible.
Yeah, you don't want that happening.
You go to pick it up, and then it's really light, and you're like, "What happened?"
Yeah. So make sure you get one that's a boiling bag and not just Yeah, you can actually distill it in a bag. Have you all done that?
Yeah, that's when we first started. That's how we was doing it. Was in the bag with the false bottom.
Right.
We was doing all of our we was doing our cooking and our fermenting with the bag. And
Now we're using paint bags or boiling bags
no,
or
we were using brew bags. We were
okay.
using straight
And
brew
they
bags.
melted on you?
Yeah, well, it sat on the bottom. We didn't know.
Oh, you didn't have the
And
false bottom.
we
Okay. I
didn't
was
know we
wondering, I
didn't
was
have
like,
the false
damn, I've
bottom.
never had them melt on
No,
me, man.
we didn't know. We learned the hard way about it. We was learning, you know what I'm
Okay.
saying? Like,
Yep, yep,
shit,
yep.
we're making tails on our final product and getting drunk. You know what I'm saying? We don't know shit then.
I was thinking,
Um,
man, y'all use a paint bag
yeah,
and you melt the plastic then.
there ain't nobody to ask. There ain't nobody, you know what I'm saying?
I know, man. That's
And
I
so,
my liquor when I first started was horrible, and it
oh,
was
yeah.
horrible for quite some time. I had nothing. I had a Foxfire book, a pressure cooker, a little, copper coil, and that was it, basically, and nobody to talk to or ask questions. And I scorched. I don't know how many runs, probably half a dozen runs before I figured out how to not scorch. But we drank scorched liquor, and we was damn happy to have it.
Happy.
Yeah,
Put
we
Jolly
used out there
Ranchers in that
fishing on the
shit.
fishing bank, smoking our cigarettes,
That's right.
drinking
It didn't
moonshine
matter.
at 12. We were smoking cigars and Swisher Sweets to keep the mosquitoes and the gnats off of
Yeah,
us,
you know what I'm saying?
It was crazy. That was us, man. It
They
was,
were attracted to the scorch smell.
yeah.
Uh,
What's going on, Kaylin?
he is the very bottom.
Yeah, man. Beaver does, man. And I think Philly has
Everything.
about one of everything they make.
They make everything.
Did we ever? Are y'all going to popcorn this year? I'm
I'm
not. I'm
trying.
not going to be able to. I'm not.
If I go, this will be the year because of no Beattyville. So I want to come down at least Saturday.
So
I
is
would
it for
love to.
sure no Beattyville this year? Maybe in the fall or
I think they're going to try to reschedule it probably in the fall. They do the Woolly Worm Festival down there at the end of October.
right,
Last week in October they do a Woolly Worm Festival. And if you don't know what the Woolly Worm is, we'll just call it a caterpillar. And
right.
and it tells them how the winter's going to be. So they
Yeah,
do a Woolly Worm Festival. I'm wondering if they're just going to combine it into that maybe, or they might just take the year off. I know they got hit pretty bad with the flooding, just like they always
yeah,
do, man.
yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah, they did. Yeah, a lot of East Kentucky got it. What's going on, Joseph? Hey, Jeff. More fruit the better. That's right. Hey, Lisa.
fruit can get expensive, you know. Like if
Fruit is very expensive. That's why people are like, "What do you ferment?" I'm like, "What's on sale?"
right,
Yeah.
like, what did
What,
somebody give
what can
me?
I get for free? Yeah.
Like I have no choice but to cut my fruit with sugar. Like there's no way I could afford $1 or $2 a pound for fruit. You know, like, and I did all pears once. I did a 30-gallon thing of pears, and man, it was over 100 pounds of pears to go
It's
straight.
very expensive.
And you
And
want to
and
talk
how did
about
your flavor carry over for pears?
it was nice. Got some pear concentrate for the
Oh, okay.
thumper, and but the worst part about that was straining the pears. It was like doing potato vodka. It was terrible.
Was it?
I'll never do pears again ever.
Maybe use finning agents next time.
That's possible.
Yeah.
All right,
Is
let it
it
sit.
amylase and the sweet feed mash? If you're just buying sweet feed all mixed up, no, man, you're not gonna cook that and convert and do all that. It's no. When you buy it like that, you're basically adding some sugar using your hydrometer and just running it as is, and it's basically a sweet feed molasses, corn flavored sugar wash.
It's kind of like you're doing a cold mash, Uncle
Yeah,
Jesse style.
yeah,
You don't have to heat ferment anything. You know, you even got to heat it up. Put water, sugar, and yeast in there. It'll make liquor.
yeah, yeah. What's going on, Jeff? Awesome. Glad to hear, brother.
Yeah, hey, you ever got a problem with it? Let us know. We take care of you on it.
That's
Everything
right.
we sell, we take care of you. Even if you fuck it up, we're fair. Like, man, just keep it real with me. You tell me you messed it up, I'll hook you up at cost to not make any money off of it.
Mulberries. They
Uh,
work.
they do. I just did a post flavor with I used black mulberry
Mulberries.
juice,
Hell yeah, man. They good.
and it comes with blackberry and mulberries. You know, the mulberries are a little bit more earthy, and they're not quite as tart as the blackberries. So they definitely have their own twang to them.
What's going on,
Old
Justin? Yeah, that Sweetwater video was. I liked watching it because, you know, I like having when I talk about something on here. You know, I like having like a video or a chart or something like that to refer to. So, you know, anytime we talk about Sweetwater and we like check out Phil Billy's video, you know, on Sweetwater, look it up on YouTube
and
and it'll
it's
show
always
you.
nice instead of typing out this big long
Right,
thing.
right, right.
You just go grab that video link. Like, here, just watch this.
But when you do it, go a jar deeper. Go take it a little longer and go from 20 to 10. So keep that 20 jar, but also make a 10 jar too to go with it, and you'll get a little bit more.
Depending on
I think he got a little tired of running them tails.
They can, like, especially if you're doing a big still, it takes forever to get from 20 to 10.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, it takes twice as long.
yeah, if you're
So
running a 50, you're just like, Jesus, come
for
on, get
me,
there.
this is the formula for me. So for mine, it takes me 45 minutes to an hour. I'm dripping, and then by hour four-ish, 4.5, I'm pretty much through my hearts. But if I want to collect all my tails, it's another 4 hours, you know, to get all the tails all the way down to the Sweetwater. And that's even cranking it up. So when you get to your tails, yeah, you don't have to go low and slow anymore, man. It's crank that
No,
fucking
you
shit
turn
up.
it up, man.
Crank
Like,
that shit up, get stripped through them. Yeah.
move that water, crank that heat up, man. Let's get it. Like, if it ain't blowing steam, you ain't pushing it hard enough.
Right. Yeah.
If it's blowing steam, back it down just a little.
Yeah, you definitely want to get through those tails as quickly as possible, and you know it takes a long time, you know, but it's worth it. It's definitely worth it. There's a lot of alcohol to be recovered, and it's good flavored alcohol. It's not
It is.
acetone, you know, and real heavy, you know, with ethyl acetates and all that. You know, you're not dealing with all that.
Now, the wet cardboard, like at the beginning of the tails, the major part of the oil, like it's to me, it's like wet. It tastes and smells like wet cardboard.
Right, and you know it's so easy to get past that on the next run. You know, you don't even taste that when you run it again. You know, you distill all that, buy all that. You know, so. But also, if you're doing sour mashes, you really need to run all the way down to your tails anyway. You know, to your sweet waters anyway. So you don't want to.
We'll get to that question, Rick. But Sweetwater, it's like at the end of your tails. You can still consider it your tails. You can throw it in with your tails. So it's like it's a part of your. Let's say it's a part of your tails.
It is a part of the tails, but it is kind of after the tails because all the stuff that you're trying to avoid is pretty much in the bucket, you know, for your tail bucket. And when you start collecting those sweet waters, yeah, like Ian said, you're not getting a lot of those oils, you know.
So
you're past a lot of that.
You notice how when you're getting into your run, when you're getting into your tails, as your proof drops, you can feel the oils more and more on your hands.
Yeah.
But at the beginning of your run, when it's, you know, that ethanol high proof, it evaporates off your hands really fast. Well, when you get down to that sweet water, it's more like you took water and dumped it in your hand. There's no oils.
Right. But it's not slick anymore. It's slick. It's not clean. I try to describe it like hair. You know, when you wash your hair and it gets kind of squeaky clean.
Man, no.
Well, you remember when you had
it?
I have a little bit left, but you know, when it gets squeaky clean, when you pull it, you know, it kind of catches as you pull through, so it's squeaky clean. That's what your fingers will do when you're in ethanol. But when you get to the tails, it doesn't get squeaky anymore. Your fingers don't catch; it just slides. So that when we talk about feeling it, you know, that's one of the ways.
It won't be greasy, but it'll be like a water, you know, sweet water. And but don't taste it and expect it to taste sweet because it's not going to taste sweet. So people get confused, like, well, why does it taste? It ain't going to taste sweet. It will taste better than, you know what I'm saying. It's got the end hits. It's got light hits on it. So
you know, Daniel, that shit on your chin, that stuff. Yeah. Oh, so Peaches is doing her first run tomorrow. What is she running, Peaches?
I think they're doing. If I'm wrong, I want to say they're doing this cold mash. Maybe I'm not sure.
Have you and Fibley done the Yellow Label Angel yeast videos yet?
Um, I haven't used it. He's used it. I forget what he used it on. So,
Man, we get some funny stuff on here,
yeah,
man.
we do.
It's funny as fuck. Oh, that's hilarious, man. Strawberry banana, awesome, man.
So I got a post flavor strawberry banana, real simple.
Yeah, it'll get cloudy when you start getting those tails. You know, some of them though, that I've actually, on my setup, um, I can leave this deflegmator off, and I can come off here at about 120 to 125, just straight in, just straight through, no mesh here at all, just a straight through. I can come off at 120. I can turn on this deflegmator and crank it up and come off, all the way into the 160s, 170s, and then
When
I
you run,
can go the infusion route and get a second distillate. I can take it on up into the 180s, mid 180s by diverting it over here, having this real cold. The colder this gets, the higher the proof. And then I run it through here for the second distillation. I can come out 185, so I can go anywhere from basically 125 to 185 on this steel just by adjusting the deflegmator and these diverters.
now, Bennett, we're wanting to know what her mash was, not what her still was. It's nice still though. Did you make those jars half gallon? When he was asking how to pump
Awesome.
up
Yeah,
half gallon.
yeah,
It's easy to take your quart jars from, like, if you got quart thumper jars, man, just go get you a little 1/2 inch coupling and stick it on there. It almost is perfect. Richard, dude, that's dealer's choice. Like, it's one of those things, man. It's dealer's choice. I've seen people
yeah,
go down to 10%. I've seen people go 50%. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? Like, really, it is your choice. Just the more back set you use, the more you got to be wary of your pH crashing. Just
Exactly.
because,
If you do the a lot, you can add a little bit more, and it'll help neutralize it. Um, y'all do the oyster shells
I
or the
don't.
stable?
I've never used oyster shells.
They
Like,
work real well. It's calcium carbonate.
yeah,
Basically, you can get them at your feed supply
yep,
stores. I'm sure you've seen it. Just
yeah.
boil them up, clean them up, get any salts and bacteria out of them, and bust
I've
them up.
used
Put them in a what is that? Here I go. My memory. That's the cheesecloth. Put them in a
yeah,
cheesecloth bag and toss it in there, and it won't boost your pH if it gets low, but
yeah.
it will prevent it from
Okay.
getting low. It buffers it. So you need to start out with that. You can't wait until it crashes and then use it. Yeah, it's best to,
Something you
to
put
just
in when you
just put
first
it in at
start.
the
I
very
have
get
used
go.
tomato paste to put tomato paste in at the beginning. No flavor from it comes through, and it's a solid
Right.
nutrient.
It's
It's
it helps for nutrients. It's got
and
everything but yan and fan. It's very good. It's great supplemental, but you still need some DAT, bro. I'm gonna get you on DAT because you need that
I
yan and
agree.
fan, man. You got to have that yan and fan. Read about it. You got to have it. Got to have it, bro.
I ain't needed it yet, so we'll cross that bridge when it comes.
I read about it, learn about it. It's something it's something good to read about and learn. It it definitely helps and it makes them happier, and you'll get some notes maybe not before. Um, but yeah, haven't made any salmon mash. Started using oyster shells. Yeah, they help.
Oh yeah,
You can buy that 5.3 buffer, and it's expensive. It's the same stuff. It's calcium
same.
carbonate.
Yep.
So
They put it in
and
there, and it
pickling
maintains.
lime, that's a calcium or calcium hydroxide, I think, and so it does add some oxygen. So it does mess with the yeast a little bit where they want to start breeding again. If you get some oxygen, that's why using baking soda is not real good because it oxygenates your mash again, and your yeast start going back into breeding when they need to be eating. So that's the only issue with that. But sometimes you don't have a choice. Sometimes it's better to use baking soda than to stress your yeast with a very low pH. So definitely don't do that. So that's definitely the lesser of the two evils.
And if you use too much baking soda, you're gonna get a volcano.
Yep, yeah, it's and
Yeah,
it happens quick. It goes quick, but
you
it
don't realize it.
also doesn't last long. So you'll
No,
have to add it again and again. Whereas the shells help. They just buffer. As things become acidic, it'll eat away at that calcium carbonate and kind of neutralize itself. So it doesn't boost the pH; it just prevents it from getting real low. Yeah,
it's like throwing an aquarium heater in there in the wintertime. You're just trying to maintain temp.
Yeah,
you're
just treading water basically. Yep. Just ordered 44 pounds of blackberry.
Big money
Man.
right there, baby. You making wine, or you just going to make shine? A little bit of both.
Yeah, a lot of my brandies never make it to the distilling pot. I taste them. And it's like, man, I can't fucking distill that. I'm bottling that shit up, man. I've got cases of wine in there.
I use bread yeast, and you will never want to save a wine and drink it. You'll be like,
man, we gotta get you using some different yeast.
No, we're good, man.
Come on, man.
I've been there. I've done all that making wine. If I'm making a wine, I'll use me some BM 4x4, maybe a little 71B. If I'm making a solid wine, I'm gonna, but I don't save it for wine. I ain't what I'm doing it for. So
you don't like wine that much, or never?
So
not into the wines much anymore.
I don't drink wine. You know what I'm saying? Yep. Like it was, we went heavy into wines.
Because I remember you was talking about when you first started.
Well, we needed something to populate our channel. Like we need videos. We need to get us out there. And so we're like, if you type in a term, it's going to show up a wine video, whether it's for what you think about or not. So we went heavy. We did about 100 wine videos in like 6 months, and and that was why. And it was just to get traction for our channel, to get people coming.
And that works. And I also how a lot of people when you're making little videos, a lot of people think, oh, I can't believe Philbilly did that. A lot of times you do little things just to get people talking. So it's not that you're dumb and you just did that because you didn't know better. It's that you do it just to see who knows and to get that conversation started in the chat to where people are educating and talking about it. And so, I know Philbilly's a master at working that. So he does a lot of things to generate a response and kind of like distilling urine. That was pretty much as far out as I've ever seen the Bear Grylls shine, I guess you call
it. Right. It's anything, you know what I'm saying? It's just that reverts back to, if it's possible, let's try it. Let's show people. Hidden Harvest had a question. Dude, if you're gonna do it, man, if you're gonna spend the money, just buy the copper rig. You know what I'm saying? You're going to buy that Vever to learn on, and you're going to be like, man, I need upgrades.
Yeah.
I need a thumper. I need a worm. Boom! All of a sudden, I'm $300 or $400 and more into this on top of the $200 or $300 that you already paid for it. So now you're looking, you're $500-600. The 18. So you're probably $600-700 into that. When it's like, man, just spend the extra money, get the big copper rig. You'll never be upset that you did, and your liquor will be 10 times better from the beginning. And what better to learn on than something that you're going to have forever? You're going to learn on it. You're going to master that rig. You're going to run that rig until the end, until you kick the bucket and pass it on to somebody else. Or you're like, you know what, I need a 50, because that's usually what happens. So, my opinion, you want the Vever to learn on, you want to buy upgrades, cool, I'll make them for you, no problem. But,
and if you do get the Vever, get the football. That way, any upgrades you get for it are going to work on your copper steel, because you're going to end up getting one. And when you do, it's going to have sanitary ferrules on it, and you can just use all your other equipment right on there, man. You won't have to waste.
And let's be for real. The football is the best steel they make. It's all tri-clamp. It's not little lines that bend and hook up.
Trash.
Go with the copper. Get the copper 20. You'd be glad you did. With that 20, you can add electric to that. You're not adding any electric to that Vever. You're running it on a stove or a hot plate or a turkey burner.
Yep.
You got a nice big thumper, a 5-gallon thumper. You can put an infuser on. You can run an infuser on that, and you can easily hook up a gin basket to it. You can put jars on it. Anything that you want to do with that 20-gallon rig, you could do. You know what I'm saying? And you got a 20-gallon rig. You could run 10 gallons in a 20-gallon rig, but you can't run 20 gallons in a 10-gallon rig.
I think 30. I like 30 is a good size. I think 30 is a good. It's getting. I think for me, and just my opinion, and I guess like a lot of the opinions in the past have been,
Personal. It's
hobby
just
steels pretty much chop off at the 30 to 40 gallon range.
yeah.
Anything beyond that is considered, well, is this really a hobby anymore? How much
But
liquor we got?
right. But if you're like, hey man, I just want to do one run a year. I don't want to get a
Yeah,
20 and have to run it 3, 4, 5 times a year. I want a
right,
40. I want to do a couple runs a year and be done with it. There's a plus and minuses,
right,
like when you get up in the 40, 50 range, you better have 12 hours. You better have a whole day. And that's just running. That's not loading and unloading and this and that. You better have 12 to 15 hours. When you're in the 20s, you're looking at 5, 6 hours, depending upon how you run. Everybody runs a little
right.
different, but you're
And
looking
how far you take the tails down?
right. How far you're looking at a 6 hour range. So really, it's just what do you want to put into it. But if you did get to 20 and say later on you're like, man, I want a 50. Well, you can always use that 20-gallon pot as your thumper.
Right.
Like, and so there's ways. So
What's going on, Bean?
man, that's
Yeah,
what I
if you can afford the copper, just go copper.
for sure.
Generally with most people, the issue is money. And
Yep.
and if you can't afford the copper, then a football probably or a keg is your way to go, for sure.
Right.
I wouldn't
Cake soda
go
way to
with the three bever or any of that. The keg or the football bever definitely.
and that
Um,
copper pot's going to hold its value too. Like you're not
yeah,
reselling that Vever pot for what you got in it.
yeah, you
Not
not
even close.
half, not even half.
You'll be lucky to find somebody to um even buy it off you at a steal.
Well,
But you
most
got
people when they see a football, like a 13, they've got a 40-gallon copper, and they're like, I see a little thumper in my future, or something
yeah.
like that, where
Yeah,
they want to
they use
convert
it
it.
for something else. But
Yep,
that
yep,
if you got a 20-gallon copper rig and somebody comes over, more than likely they will hand you more than what you paid for it because they don't know the value of what you got.
right,
But you do. You know what I'm saying? And it's just they're in awe. And so the copper rig's the way to go, man. It's a money investment that doesn't lose its value ever.
right,
And you know what I'm
absolutely,
saying? And if you could swing it to where it pays for itself, if that's your deal, you're in a legal state.
right.
So
Yeah, he's taking it to the Philippines, and they're going to run over there. So I would definitely, if you're going to be running a lot of brandies, because that's really when the coppers shine, is
yeah,
when
it
you
does.
deal with a lot more sulfurs and sulfides. And you tend to get more of those with brandies than you would with like you're not going to get a lot with like a sugar shine, or you get some with grain. Um, but it's just part of the fermentation process actually creates them. So it's kind of hit and miss. But I tend to get more sulfides with my fruits, and dark fruits like plums and grapes tend to create more of them than the peaches do.
That's also
Um,
why you hear you people talk about you got to throw off more heads when it comes to your fruits. You know what I'm
yep.
saying? Throw off a little bit more heads than you do with your
Yeah,
grain.
yeah, you get more, and using pectic enzymes. Anytime you use your pectic enzymes, you got those pectic enzymes eating the cell walls, the cellulose, and that cellulose converts into a methanol. So that's a wood alcohol, and that's why when you use those pectic enzymes, you're getting more of the heads and more of the force shots than you normally would, because you've got cellulose being consumed, and that's what the pectic enzymes do. So when they
When
break those cell walls down to get more of the sugars out.
when I use the pectin enzymes, I let them sit for 24 hours before I go to my next step.
Yeah, 24, 48, absolutely. And
Like
it's amazing what they do to a peach mass.
you're just like, where'd all that liquid come from that wasn't there?
Yeah, what happened to all that pulp? It's like that was all just a mush of peach mush. What happened to all the stringy peach mush and pulp? It's gone. It's crazy, but it helps so much and increases your production so much. It's you got to use it.
So Ferret Shine, answer your question. Phil Billy is my cousin. He's my double cousin. We're double cousins. So he's got webbed toes. Have him show them to you sometimes.
Yeah,
But yeah, we're double cousins. We've been friends, hung out since we were kids. He's always a little older, so he corrupted me. I remember being 12, 13 years old, hanging out with his friends. So, they're all 15, 16. And he's like, show my friends you can drink this 40 in one drink, or we're going to kick your ass. And I'm like, well, you got to do what you got to do. And he takes a 40 and you hammer it down. But yeah, me and Phil Billy, we're double cousins. So our moms are sisters and our dads are brothers. So one family got with another family. And Phil Billy's got 6 feet. He's got 6 toes on one foot, and he's got 3.5 fingers on one hand. And he's got the other 1.5 on the other.
You don't have to come to us. We're going to be coming to you, man. Maggie Valley, bro.
Yeah, Maggie Valley, July.
Maggie Valley, just be there, brother.
25th and 26th.
That's in your neighborhood, bro.
We will be there. So
yeah, that's the best time to see us. Or come to the party on July 11th.
Let's see, July 11th, Dayton, Ohio. We're having a moonshiner meetup at Snickers Bar and Grill.
Yep.
You got the Far in the Bottle Festival down in Wilmington, Ohio, September 12th and 13th.
Popcorn, not too far from you either. It's on the Tennessee side.
June 5th and 6th for the Popcorn Festival in Newport, Tennessee. Let's see, July 11th. So we're working on flyers and stuff for that. We just got the okay for it. So we will just, if you don't follow Phil Billy, follow Phil Billy. You can follow me directly on TikTok. You can follow Bad Santa. You could just check in here. Everybody's going to be talking about it when the time comes.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm going a little fast with all there's several festivals around. Like I said,
Hidden Harvest. You need to join the militia, and inside the militia, at the very top, once you join and answer the questions. So when you do, if you don't see the questions, scroll down because they might be below. But we've got like a Google Calendar that has all the different events that's going on. Damon's really bad about keeping it up, so you need to get on to Damon and say something if it's not updated. But it shows a lot of the festivals, not all of them. We're trying to get them all on there, and the dates and times for all those. And most, we all will go pretty much to Maggie Valley and Farm to Bottle are really the two biggies every year for me.
Those are the two biggies, especially Maggie Valley. The Maggie Valley is that. See, the Farm to Bottle's nice. It's definitely the Farm to Bottle's more personal. It seems like Maggie Valley it's a lot. So if you want big, Maggie Valley's the way to go. If you want smaller, more personal, and just hang out with people in the campgrounds because it's at the festival.
Right. That's what I love about it, man. Is
then Farm to Bottle
campgrounds is right there.
The way to go. So you can't go wrong either way.
Yeah, both of them are great.
At the jam, it's busy. There's thousands of people walking around every day, so everybody's
and it's expensive to stay there. The hotel rooms and stuff. Because I'm looking at almost $700, $600 and change for 3 nights.
$750 for 3 nights at the Comfort Inn.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, do I do that or do I just sleep in the car and get that Sig P365, X micro, Sig. My fucking car.
The Comfort Inn is the party. So if you're going to stay anywhere, if you can, you stay at the Comfort Inn if there's rooms left. And that's where everybody hangs out afterwards, and it's a good time. We set up a grill in the parking lot. You got food, you can throw it on, So.
Yep, there's a lot down in Arkansas. Yeah, we've got the Arkansas Moonshine Festival. That's in October 31st or November 1st. Yeah, November 1st in Clinton, Arkansas.
Is that the music festival, or is the music festival different from that?
No, it's the music one. We have the music, the one we went to last year.
Okay, that's what I was thinking. So I know we're all
great.
We're all thinking about trying to go to that in Arkansas.
Yeah, that was in Clinton, Arkansas, and I think that's November 1st. They changed the weekends, but October 31st they have this huge Halloween festival in town, and then the night after that, since this weekend it's on the weekend, so the night after that is the festival on the 1st. So that's going to be a great festival. And there's another one, Fort Smith, Arkansas. I think Cyrus is doing that, if I'm not mistaken. And then there's going to be one in Missouri that oh hell, what's his name? Moonshiner.
You talking about Big Chuck?
No, Halsley. Troy Halsley's putting in one
Okay.
in Missouri. Troy and his wife are putting one in Missouri around that same
Nice.
time. So also a lot of good festivals to go to. Again, check out our calendar on the Moonshine Militia, the Google Calendar, and if it's not on there, jump Damon's shit, tell him to get busy and get on it.
Yeah, or just we're going to talk about it, man. So
yeah, we'll be talking about it.
Said
when
Missouri
it
this
comes out.
weekend. Is there one going on in Missouri this weekend?
Is that Troy Halsey's? Well, not Troy, yeah.
So Tate, how long should your pipe be from your column to your thumper? As long as you want it. Dealer's choice, man. Make
I'd
it as
say
long.
shorter the better.
Well, he's going from his thumper. Dealer's choice, really. Like shorter.
I like it
gets
closer
it there
because it stays warmer. It takes less time to heat up, and it tends to work a little better for me if I keep it closer. So.
When it comes from your thumper to your worm, get to your worm as soon as possible,
right,
without going and keep it as low as possible. Try not to come out at real high to go to your your worm. Try to keep that as short as possible and as close as possible.
right.
And like he's talking about, the closer it is to your pot, the less likely you don't have to push it so hard because it won't cool down.
Right, you have less
But
condensation and less filling up.
if you gotta be 3 feet long because that's the way it is what it is. You know what I'm
That's
saying?
what it is. Right.
But
Troy's is this weekend. Okay, damn, I didn't know that, man.
Dawsonville, Georgia.
Awesome. We'll have
Let's
to
say there's a moonshine festival in Dawson. Yeah, I've heard about the one down in Georgia. I believe that's southern Georgia. I think that's in September, maybe. I know we had a bunch of people message us last year trying to get me and Phil Billy to come to all these festivals. I just had a guy in Ontario, Canada, who wanted us to come up there for a festival, and I'm like, man, I can't be taking Phil Billy across the border. We'll never get back.
Right, man. It's.
And I'm like, you're too far away, and we don't fly. Like, I ain't getting on
Yeah.
no airplane. And let's be for real, Phil Billy ain't riding to Ontario, Canada. You got to damn near break his arm to get him to go to Maggie Valley.
Well, I don't know. All expense paid trip but you won't fly, will you? You're not a flyer.
I'll drive. Hey, I'll drive anywhere. Let's get it. But I ain't flying.
All expense paid and everything taken care of. You might get us up there. What do you think?
I'm down. I mean, if they're paying, I'm going.
Yeah. Just pay for our room and our food and.
That's right. Feed me and give me free drinks. And
that's right. Yeah, you can't bring your own, so I guess you're gonna have to feed me drinks and.
I wonder how it works. You'd have to take legal jars.
Yeah, or put your own in a legal jar. Nobody knows
that too. Get you some new stickers.
Yeah. Yes, sir. It does. Most of your brewers and beer makers use all 2-row. They snoff at 6-row. They're 6-row snobs, but 6-row had its place, for diastatic power when we were doing all grains before. When all you really had a choice of is powdered amylase. It's really hard to work with. It doesn't work as well.
Which is really
but
hard
with
to work
the
with.
liquid high temp and the liquid gluco, it's revolutionized things, man. It's changed. Like Ian and I were talking, everything's always changing, and as science, and developments and new things come about, things change. And liquid high temp and liquid gluco has changed a lot of things. And it's, you don't need that 6-row anymore. You can get by with using that 2-row and getting that extra flavor because you don't need all that extra diastatic. You can just pinch a little bit in and use half of the liquid gluco or and high temp amylase that you normally would, and then use the barley, to 2-row to go along with it. Getting all the diastatic you need for conversions, and it's the best of both worlds, man. I love doing it that way. I've changed. I don't buy any more 6-row.
6-row is so scarcely used. It's hard to find a farmer who grows it.
Right. It's only in the distillers because beer makers don't have anything to do with it. So it's only distillers that use it. And now with the amylase coming out, and it's more expensive. It's harder to find, and you just don't need it.
And damn near all these farmers that grow 2-row.
Yeah.
Got 2-row, but they don't grow 6-row just because they don't sell enough of it.
Yep.
There's not enough out there.
And if they do grow it, everything that they grow goes to a distillery.
It's all for a certain place.
All for one,
And even nowadays, all these distilleries are using liquid because it's It's money.
Just,
It's so much more cost efficient. It's about dollars and cents, and
so
they're
let's get
making
back to
dollars and
this
cents.
yellow label. Have y'all? I asked earlier, and I think we might have got away from it, but have y'all used it much yet? And
Phil Billy
I
used it. I forget what he used it on.
know
Let's see.
Michael and Brittany have
Yeah,
used it
you have to
recently,
ask
and
him
they've got
Friday
a multi-grain going on with it. I'm going to try some rice with it, and I'm going to try some just corn, and just see what it does. I'm just dumping it in there cold. I'm going to do 3 pounds a gallon, the standard 3 gallon to get a
night.
good conversion. That should be plenty conversion. And because you can't, use the starch test. You can't use a hydrometer, triple scale early on. You have no idea. So you just have to know pretty much what recipe will give you a result that you want, and then back into it using that yeast, and it's going to be interesting. I can't wait to try it. But according to Michael and Brittany, man, it's working off fine. It's taking a little bit longer, but they saying it's smelling really good, and I can't wait to see how it tastes. I've heard a lot of different people doing it, but not so many with the experience that Michael has. So it's one of my first times hearing, I didn't see Phil Billy's episode, but it's one of the first times I've seen an experienced, shiner, and working with it. So I'm wanting to see what it turns out like for him, because I'm going to have some fun with it. Because
Right.
back in the day, the biggest problem with gelatinizing corn and doing all this was having something large enough to boil that much fucking water, right? I
Right.
mean,
Or having something large enough to ferment all that corn in. It's like, I
right?
mean, you're not doing a 50-gallon mash with 150 pounds of corn in it in a drum. It's just
No,
not going to work. Um, when it comes to the rice, I know a lot of people, they say the flavor gets lost during distillation. So you'll see a lot of people, they'll ferment the rice traditional sake style using Shanghai yeast balls
hmm
to really get that flavor out of it, and then they mix it together when it comes time to distill it.
I didn't know it, but Yellow Label and that Gobi yeast is created from malting rice.
Really?
So I didn't know that until a couple of weeks ago. That's how I'm learning by doing this show. So I'm not just teaching; we're all learning at the
Yeah.
same time.
Well, like you see something you're intrigued about, like
Yeah,
it's gonna
this is new to me. I've never done rice before,
it's
so
gonna
I'm
eat at you. It's gonna
yeah,
eat at you. So
yeah,
if you don't like how it comes out, you're gonna be like, man, I'm gonna try to do it the sake way and ferment my rice with the yeast balls, and then combine them in a pot and distill them together and see how I like that, because you'll get a lot more rice flavor out of the
it's like a koji yeast.
yeah,
Interesting.
and you get a lot more of that flavor out of it doing it that way, just because that's how you make sake, and you know how sake is amazing, and it's flavorful, it's sweet, it's alcohol, it's everything you want it to be. So, it
I can, some people don't like it, and I just like, how can you not like it? I mean, it's
right,
it's it's so good. It's
yeah, cold, warm, hot. There's so many
yeah,
different variations.
I like it.
Same, maybe a little too much sometimes, but that's the way it goes.
Yeah, yeah.
It's all good.
Well, brother, I hope that comes out all right, man. We'll keep you in our prayers.
And so
Anytime
you
those
see,
final procedures.
man, yeah, I had a major back surgery. It was brutal. I
When
had to
did
learn
you
how to
have that?
walk. 2017, I had a bilateral microdiscectomy. 3 hours, he was in there grinding on my spine, trying to relieve my sciatic nerve.
So is that about when Phil Billy started doing videos and stuff, or that a little bit before?
No, I think we started shortly after that.
Yeah, I was thinking it's about the
Yeah,
time.
it was shortly. It was right before. It was a little before COVID.
Right.
But I believe it was after that we started wine, and we started a little bit of moonshine, and our first apple brandy video, we're running in his driveway. We had no idea couldn't distill liquor. We didn't know. We're running in his driveway. In the background on the video, you see school buses driving past, and we were running brandy in the driveway. I didn't care. We didn't know. We was just making
Guys,
alcohol.
I think that festival's in North Georgia they were talking about.
Okay.
What's going on, Scott? Anytime, brother. That's what we're here for. You too, man. And thanks for supporting Phil Billy and Ian.
Yeah, we appreciate y'all, man. Oh yeah, we cussed.
Yeah.
Yeah, we cussed a lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
Uncut, man. Raw
Yeah.
and uncut.
Well, we wanted people to be like, man, these dudes are just like us. You know what I'm
Yeah, they're
saying?
real
This is
people.
me.
You know,
This
it's
is me and my buddies sitting around the fire, just busting each other's balls, cussing, having a good time. Like some of the stuff we say and talk, it's just it's like my old lady here, like y'all are dumb. Like
yeah,
what is
like
wrong with you
on
guys?
the Friday shit show, man. It gets a little bit out there
That's right. Oh,
sometimes.
fuck your mama, bitch.
Yeah, fuck
That's
your
old
mama.
school right there.
Yeah. And the retarded girls, yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah,
There's some good
we
stories,
always
man.
had a good time. We're like, you can have fun. You ain't gotta be a snob. We
That's
can
what I
do
was thinking when you said that, thinking, man, you go to all these wine sites and you deal with all these snobs. It's like, man, I don't want to be that way. I don't want to be that guy.
no, and
I
then
want to educate, but I don't want to sound like that.
you,
So it's
you,
hard.
you
It's
see
hard to
these two
educate and
dudes.
not sound like a know-it-all. And
Yeah,
it's
you see these two fat dudes, one bald, one's got hair, and they're just like, oh yeah, here you go. Pound of sugar, pound of fruit, some water, little bit of yeast. Oh,
yeah,
look at that. You got wine.
yeah,
And you're just like, man, I can do that. Like old JJ. Like I talked to JJ, old Joe Jackson, all the time. He's like, man, I was at home, I was looking for something to do, and I'm researching, I'm watching George, and I'm just not sure. I'm just not sure, man. He's like, and all of a sudden I see you and your cousin making sour mash. And I'm like, holy shit, this is awesome to watch. This is a lot simpler than I thought it was going to be.
What kind of shirt you got on there, man?
I got me old Appalachian Hooch.
I represented today, man. I don't know
Mine's
if you
dirty.
recognize it or not. I had to represent for you
I
today.
appreciate that. I appreciate
Yeah.
you. So, doing my
Bill,
first
Billy,
sport.
Big Easy, and Cyrus ruined your life. Yep. You know who to
That's
blame it
right.
on.
Hey, I'll take the blame. I always say, tell your lady it's my fault. I'll take it. I'm used to the woman being mad at me. So,
Yeah, I wish I would have done the YouTube and TikTok thing instead of, just adminning all these groups and helping out. It'd been a lot more rewarding. I could have helped a lot more people that way.
yeah,
Even
well,
though some of those groups had 200,000 people in it, man. I
yeah,
mean, they were huge groups, but it's just, I would have enjoyed it more if I'd have gone that route instead of just doing the admin thing and,
yeah.
and
So,
doing that.
I, I like to think like everybody, all these people with their cameras and everybody making moonshine how-to videos, all the podcasts all funnel back to me and Phil Billy making videos, dumbass wine videos and not
Yep,
knowing how to make liquor, but just wanting to let people know, you know what I'm saying? And it's
right.
grown, it's exploded. So like I said, it's wild to think that's where it started at, and this is where we're sitting at today, you know what I'm saying? Like, and it's crazy to think of where we're at, and no, never any idea that it would turn into this, you know.
What's
So
going
it's
on, Steve? Never too late, brother. You can always watch it later on your way to work or at work. It's great to watch while you're sitting at work.
that's right. And
How much cleaning we do.
we
Yeah,
don't we
that's
don't
that's
talk about that part.
yeah.
That's the part we don't tell people that, because we don't tell them that they learn that when it's too late. They're already into it. Like, yeah,
Yeah, after
oh,
their
they're
first
already
banana
into it.
mash and somebody says, yeah, put a lid on that. You only need a couple inch headspace, man. Put a lid on it. Put your airlock on that bad boy. Okay, have fun cleaning that garage. Let's see the garage cleaning video.
That's right.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah,
it's a lot of cleaning. Like you don't realize it.
yeah,
But on the plus side, we're not making beer and wine, so we don't have to be super sanitary.
right.
Making beer's rough. Making wine, just one false step, one false little step, and it's like, yep, that's infected.
It's ruined. Yep,
That's moonshine.
yep. That's a brandy.
That's a
Yep,
brandy.
yep. Actually, my grappa was actually a mistake. I was doing another run and I was out of town and I had to the fermentation was going and I have to stop fermentation. So I had potassium metabisulfate Camden tablet to stop fermentation and I stop it when it's sweet. So I want to retain some sweetness, right? So I tell Ann, teaspoons, of this stuff, and she's using tablespoons, and it's like, okay. So I get back and I taste it. I'm like, ooh, that's bad. So I let it sit and I let it sit and tried to, degas it, and I let it sit for a year, almost over a year actually. And that flavor went away. It gassed off, and all that potassium metabisulfate went away. And actually, I think it contributed to some of the esterification and some of the interesting flavors.
It's crazy how something that sits will pick up some wild flavors.
Yeah, it's the process of oils and acids and alcohol and oils and acids all working together to esterify and to making a lot of these flavors. It's very interesting because it even happens in a jar. A lot of it, happens in a barrel where you're getting the flavor from the barrel. Also, you're getting, there's a lot of chemical reactions that are still taking place for a long period of time,
Even in that
and
jar, like that jar's not going
even
to
in a
taste.
jar. Yeah,
It's not going to taste the same in 6 months.
right.
Yeah, you go pick that jar up
Exactly.
and be like, man, this is different than I remember,
It's
and it
better
is.
than I remembered it being. It
Or you're
generally.
like, man, where'd all the flavor go? That
Right,
was
it
there.
sucks, man. What happened to this?
A lot of people when they're running, they're trying their product and they're like, man, this has so much flavor, but your palate and everything is blind from the aromas in the air from running your still, everything that's in it when it first comes off. So it's common for it to taste way different the next day
Yep,
than when you're running the still, just because of all the things that are around that are the smells are putting flavors in your palate that's not really there, and
yep.
cleaning is 70% of the job.
Cleaning up is definitely the biggest part of it, and that's the only drawback to copper is that little bit of extra maintenance that's required. But if you learn how to do it properly and you rinse it every time and you run it often enough, you really don't have that much problem with it. It's
So
just never
here's
let back sit in it though.
see, I leave back set in mine, fill it up with water, and once you drain it out, man, give it a good rinse. She's good to go. It keeps
Well, I mean, backset will actually clean it.
it keeps it clean.
Yeah,
Like
it'll definitely clean. But it also they found that when acids come in contact with your copper, it's basically etching and it's micro etching it. You have to have a microscope to see it. But what once used to be a flat oxidized surface, and you want it to get oxidized. You don't want a
yeah,
shiny copper. You want it to look like a dull penny. And what happens is that acid changes the surface. You look at it under a microscope, and it goes from a smooth thing to like almost like little grits and pores where it's
yeah.
eating into the
Or it's
surface a
eating
little
at
bit,
it.
and it increases surface area. And then you start having a lot more problems with oxidation and verdigris and it turning green and all that on you. So if you can just rinse it out after each use and keep it clean and dry, you should be good to go. Now the plumbing in the worm that can be a little different, and tougher to clean. But you can plug one end of your copper of your worm with a little cork or a rubber stopper and just fill it full of citric acid and water or vinegar and let that sit and work. Let it drain out, blow some steam through it, rinse it good. It should be good to go.
I'll rinse when I'm done and rinse before I run.
Yep.
Just and I feel like that works really well. Rinse right when you're done, and rinse right before you run, and usually you'll be all right.
Yep. Yeah, and I've just been trying some wine kits. He's got some of these like the vintners wine kits and
Yeah,
stuff. They can get a little bit expensive, uh, but there's also like Welch's wine recipes, and that's where I first got started about 10 years ago. Um, you'll see on there when you get on there and start reading, you get so much misinformation, just as much in winemaking as we get in maybe not as much,
right.
but a lot of misinformation in winemaking, just like we get in the moonshining. But um, you can make some pretty decent wine with Welch's grape juice,
Just
and
juice,
and a
What's
good
juice?
yeast. It's surprising. And vintners, they have a lot of fruit puree, and it can get a little expensive, but it's great stuff, man. It's y'all carry that, don't you?
No, we don't carry any type of fruit purees or
Yeah, I wasn't sure if y'all
wine
carry that or
bases.
not.
There is a puree company here called Ohio Puree. You can buy the 40-pound bags of straight puree. They don't cut it with corn syrup or anything like that.
You may have to work out a wholesale deal with them and start carrying that, maybe, you know.
And
That's something else. But yeah, that rum, that molasses for the rum's pretty good stuff that y'all source up there. And it's a good C grade. I really want to look at the numbers on it. I haven't really determined if it's a C grade or the grade above C. Somebody said it's the same thing as the Golden Barrel, but it might be a grade above that Golden Barrel stuff. But either way, it's what you want, what you need. It's what they use for cookie making and for all that good stuff. So, yeah, it's definitely a food grade.
yeah, I was really surprised at the difference in the flavors of the two.
So what new do you guys coming out? I see Wes is helping y'all with some horse heads. So you got a lot of horse heads making, and what's the newest biggest seller right now?
Everything comes in waves.
Yeah,
and it's slow season right now.
it's gonna pick up. It warms up, man. I'm waiting for the temperatures here. They're just now getting here where they're conductive for me to start, doing some volume, because with my grains and stuff, I just can't. You can't do 5-gallon, at a time like I do I do my brandies in these 5-gallon fermenters that I can put airlocks on. When I do grains, I don't use fucking airlocks, man. I just
open air.
Yeah, I put a towel over it, just keep the fucking bugs out. But
most of them anyways.
yeah, but yeah, it happens so fast. Fermentation takes just 4 or 5 days generally, and it's done. So there's no need.
This time of year, every year is your slow season. You figure you've got graduations, you got proms. What I'm saying, you've got all this stuff going on right now, and everybody's spring break just hit. So every year, no matter what business we've been in, this time of year is always slow. And so
20-gallon Thunder Mountain shout out. Love it. Hobby. Absolutely, brother. Cane syrup works excellently, man. It works great.
Use your hydrometer. If you're unsure, take 1 pound of that syrup, mix it with 1 gallon of water, throw your hydrometer in there, and it will tell you what you need. If you're low, then be like, oh, well, I need to add, I need to add a half pound more, or, and if you can't do pounds, like you do it's gallons, see how much a gallon is, and then see how many gallons of water you have to add to that till it reads. Use that triple scale to lead you where you need to go.
Absolutely. That's such an essential tool, and everybody says, oh, I don't want to get all scientific, well, then quit asking for recipes and quit following what somebody else does.
Just dump it in and ferment it.
Yeah, just dump it in, shit on it, and run it, and just see what happens, man. But
it is one piece of equipment, and it ain't no different than a thermometer.
And it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure it out and use it. One simple 5-minute explanation, and it's like, that's it, really? That's all? It's like reading a fucking thermometer. If you can see the numbers on it, you might have to twist it around a few times before the numbers will actually fucking face you. I'm going to come out with a triple scale and a proofing hydrometer with numbers on 3 sides. That way that motherfucker can't hide from you, man.
Right. They got the ones you could throw in, and it reads on your app on your phone.
Oh, yeah, that's cool.
They definitely have some new age stuff that'll read it for you and tell you what. Oh, if Bean was there, he'd tell you he's got some fancy shit like that. He's like, well, it's at a 0.03 and my temp's at this, and it says it should be done by this. And
yeah, you got temperature conversions too that those apps probably help you out with really quickly.
I would expect it to be flavorless. You're not
going to get a lot of flavor out of it.
It's just it's just a sugar. It's it's a glorified simple syrup.
It's not a molasses at that point.
It's not like maple syrup to where it has its own distinct twang to it. So I would expect it to be like running just a sugar wash.
Yeah, 1.080 is perfect. Yeah, that's fine.
That's where I like my grains. I like my fruits about 060. I like my fruits around 8%. I like my grains around 10%. And that's just dealer's choice. So
Yep. I'm the opposite. I generally will accept a little lower with my grains, and I use dextrose.
so using corn
Yeah,
sugar.
yeah. I use dextrose.
And that's hard
It
for a
blends
lot of
in
people
so
to come by.
easy. Yeah,
Like corn
I know
sugar is
you all get a
hard.
great deal on it. Y'all get
Yeah,
a
we
great
do up
deal on
here.
it.
Every time I'm going down there, all my buddies are like, "Can you get me corn sugar? Can you get me
Yeah,
dextrose?"
yeah,
And
man.
I'll
That's
roll down with like 300 or 400 pounds in a little 4-door car,
so
dragging it
definitely
up
look them
here.
up, man. They're definitely one of the best dextrose sources there is for sure. And if you don't have to ship, if you can go see them, it's definitely well worth your time
And
and cheaper
i-
than Amazon for
if you're
sure.
coming into town for the festival
July
we're having July 11th, let me know
prepay, and he'll have it ready for you.
and I'll see about getting you some. So
Yep. But it's tough, it's tough to do these favors, and everybody's like, yeah, give me some. So you got, okay, there's 300 pounds, 500 pounds. I'm not gonna be able to make it, man. Can you bring that to Maggie? It's like, okay, so I'm carrying that cost to Maggie now, and
yeah,
I'm
oh yeah,
packing it,
I know. Yeah,
hundreds of miles, and it's tough. So if you can, just prepay, and you know, that's why I try to
essentially,
do
Jeff, we're
everything.
talking about sugar made from corn.
Yeah,
Like there's a
it's
lot
it's
more
it's
to it than that, but essentially it's sugar made from corn,
yeah, and it's a pure monosaccharide of glucose. So you just got one
It,
molecule of glucose and everything, and
it ferments smooth and easy.
it makes yeast so happy. It's their
It
favorite food.
does.
It's
And I tell
it's
you,
so
man,
easy for them to consume.
if you was to say you did just an all dextrose wash and just a straight white sugar wash, and you put them next to each other, you would
Night and
just
day.
night and day. Just the heat ain't there, and it's why a lot of people use that dextrose when they're doing all grain
That's why I
because
use it.
in most people's minds, it's like, well, man, that's corn sugar. That's still an all grain. Like even though there's a lot more to it than that, but essentially it's
It's
still an
cheating a
all.
little bit.
It is, but it just the the smoothness of that corn sugar is just. And where is it? Usually brew stores. Usually brew stores is where you get it from.
Yeah,
It's made by
it's on
big companies
Amazon.
like
You can get it off
Cargill.
Amazon. It's like
You get it
80,
on,
90 bucks
yeah,
for a 50
it's
pound bag.
pricey. If you can find a brew store, you can usually get it for about 65, 70 a bag.
Right, right. And
If you,
I think that's about what you guys are in it, 60, 70.
it not shipped, yeah.
Right, right.
You
Yeah.
want
Oh,
to
yeah.
ship,
Not,
yeah,
no.
yeah. When you go
Yeah.
to ship it, you better add another
Oh,
60,
yeah. Yeah. It's expensive.
$75. That's great, and
Yeah.
that's us not making any money. So
Yeah. Y'all have pretty tight margins, if any. I mean, when you include gas, you're probably losing money.
yeah,
But
and
it's
that,
helping people, and it's
yeah, and
keeping you out
and
there, and
we
maybe
look
they'll
at
buy
it
that
like man,
still.
we will make it on the back end on something
That's
else.
right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Come back with something
Exactly.
else. So
Full circle. It'll come around.
he said he used the turbo. Let's see,
Yeah,
Patrick.
it's just basically it's derived from corn. Yeah,
Yep.
and Mike Frayne and I, we sat down and we did the math and did the numbers. It's cheaper to get your sugar from corn than from a bag. Okay, if you don't mind doing the conversions and going and doing all that, you can get cheaper sugar if you get a good deal on it. Now, if you're paying $20 or $30, for a 50-pound bag, I'm sorry, you're not probably going to make it. It's
Right.
cheaper,
Like
but
see,
like Bucky's Yellow Dent, if you're paying $8 for a 50-pound bag, you can make more sugar out of that than the 70 cents a bag, or 70 cents a pound that you're going to get from most
yeah,
wholesalers and stores.
see, like for us, I think the cheapest I've found granulated sugar that's not beet sugar. You get beet sugar cheap,
Right.
and I'm not a fan of the beet sugar. Some people
I'm
swear
not
by
either.
it. I'm not a fan of it. I had a couple bad experiences with it because it was cheap, and I'm like, I'm never using this again. But usually, I think $30 for a 50-pound bag is the cheapest anywhere I've seen.
Let's
Usually,
see.
it's about 70 cents a pound. I think that's
Yeah,
around
that's what I've come
safety.
to.
Walmart and all that. It's about 70 cents a pound.
Yeah.
Patrick, dude, don't pay $2 a pound for cracked corn off Amazon. Go to a
No.
local feed store.
If you got a Bucky's, it's $8 for 50 some pounds right now.
Yeah, you know, so you got Bucky's or feed store, Tractor Supply. We got Rural King and Tractor
And just
Supply
get
here,
and just get whole kernel. It'll keep for a long, long time,
and I'm
and
willing to
mill
bet
it
you
down when
could
you
get
need it.
that corn off Walmart for a 50-pound bag for the same price. And Walmart, you
Mhm.
go pick it up at Walmart. Like you'll be
Yep,
surprised at things like that you can buy at Walmart.
absolutely.
But try a feed store before you go pay
But
$2
when
a
it
pound.
comes to heirloom, expect to pay a bunch,
Yeah.
and get it from Phil Billy and
And we sell the heirloom for $3 a pound, and that includes shipping.
right.
Um,
So if you can go up there and pick it up, probably $2 a pound or so.
$2 a pound if you pick it up, you know.
Yep.
And like sometimes we'll ship it, and it will cost us $2 a pound to ship it. And sometimes it'll be $1, sometimes it'll be 70. It all equals out, and we don't make barely anything off the corn. So buy other stuff from us.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
uh,
definitely better than paying two
okay,
for crack
you're
corn
out in
off Amazon.
Alaska. Well, yeah,
You can
you're out
get
in
heirloom corn
Alaska.
for that. Yeah.
So Patrick says he's in Alaska. You're a little far out, so I can see
Okay.
the
Yeah.
$2.
That's that high
That
shipping.
changes things a little
Unless
bit.
you're at a military base. If you're at a military base, it's by law, USPS will charge you the same as if it were, a local, just in state.
Yes.
They won't charge you the extra,
Let's see.
but it has to be a military base. So yeah, they've got a lot of stuff. They're kind of turned into like a little Amazon now, selling for other people too. So yeah, my fiance works there, so I get a little bit of a discount. So that's nice too. Oh man, it's been a good show, bro. It's getting about that time. You about ready to wrap it up?
Hey man, I'm hanging out as long as you can hang. So
I usually hang till about close to 11 or so, and
yeah,
and usually the goodbyes and wrapping it up and
all good.
going
Well,
back and catching some comments.
I appreciate you having me. You know, honored to be your
Hey,
first guest.
it's great to be on here. Yeah, my first guest on this.
Kind of weird, you know, getting asked questions.
Yeah, you're on the other side, man. You're on the casting couch now, man.
Hell yeah, joining Sean on his casting couch. But so like my moonshine game really took off when I met Mac and Sean. You know, like I learned so much from them in the beginning. Especially one of the first things I learned from Mac was the hydrometer. I had no idea about a hydrometer, and so I take it to Phil. Like, check out, like, dude, we can know how much sugar is in. You know, you go back and watch our early videos, like the cotton candy and the sour mash. He's just busting my balls about the hydrometer and how we don't need it, and how motherfucker uses it all the time.
Yeah, and that's the way a lot of
Yeah.
old shiners are. I
Yep.
was the same way, but where I had science, in school and stuff, I always had that scientific curiosity that I had to know what makes everything
Yeah.
tick.
What
Even
makes
as a
it work?
child, I was taking everything apart just to see what made it work, and I was that guy, and see if I could put it back together. And most times I couldn't, and my dad just got pissed off, and he'd start bringing junk phones and junk stereos for me to take apart, so I'd leave the good ones alone. But I just have to know, but there's a lot of people that are resistant, and it's not. There's nothing wrong with it. You don't have to have it. You can do it old school by taste and feel and stuff, but it's so much
As,
easier,
as a beginner, it's definitely a tool that you should put in your arsenal.
right?
Makes your learning a lot smoother and easier, and to know what's what. So
And if you're a person that doesn't want the science and you want to do the old school, have that and taste it, that manual way, and then put the hydrometer in there and see how well
you should
you're
definitely be
tasting and
fair. Just like
and
when you're proofing, if you're checking it with the hydrometer, well, you should also be shaking it
right,
right when you're done, so that you know, like, oh, well, this is what this is. It's how you learn. You know what
right.
I'm saying? Like, use it
Yeah,
to learn.
just
It all
shake it,
learning
check
tools.
it, and okay, this is what I think it is. Put it in there and test it. Oh, well, I'm getting pretty close, and start reading, learn about the frog eyes and the bridging and
Yep.
all that. And before you know it, you'll be able to shake a jar, the higher proof, and test it. Lower proof gets a lot more difficult. When you get
Yes.
to lower proof, it's a lot harder for me to tell. Once it gets below 100, it's
That
pretty difficult.
the worse your old eyes get, man, the harder it is to read them small bubbles.
Yeah, them little tiny bubbles, it gets tough, man. It
But
sure
yeah, man,
does.
I appreciate you letting me sit down and shoot the shit with you,
Hey,
bro.
it's good to have you in here. What's the if not the Vice episode about?
Tong Su?
So T-T-O-N-G.
Please tell us.
Well, you got me Googling, brother. T-T-O-N-G-S-U-L.
Yeah.
Korean wine with child feces. Well, that's a nutrient. If you want to use it, you can get your yan and fan from baby shit, but probably not the best place to
That's
get
probably
it. But
that's what Philbilly's about. He got a baby. He likes fucking distilling piss.
Hell yeah, man.
I'm presenting that to Philbilly tomorrow. Philbilly's got a episode coming. Hey, Richard, we shipped at 13 gallons now. It's $49.95 shipped. If you want any bigger than that, you got to pick them up or pay for the shipping, man. They're just the fermenters, dude. They're just not worth it when you can go ferment in a trash can. Like it's hard to pay $50 for a 13-gallon fermenter. You
you can get on
Marketplace.
You
hop
get
on
on
Marketplace and find somebody near you.
Absolutely.
Or if you're going to be at the jam, I'm sure I could fish you one down there for you.
And one thing, if you're going to buy some of those fermenters, for 25, 35 a piece, whatever they got them for, buy several because you can slide them inside each other and they'll fit. So you can pack a bunch home. You don't have to fit them all individually. They slide inside each other.
The 13s that I get, you can't. They don't go inside each other.
Oh, they don't. Mine do.
They're shaped like barrels. They're like egg shaped.
Oh, these are kind of tapered down. Yeah.
Those are the 55s. I get the 55s like that. You can fit them all inside each other. So.
Yeah, I've got some 30s and 42s.
Good call, Richard. They cost so much to ship. It's just one of those things we get locally. We store grain in them. I use them to make 10, 13-gallon worms out of. But they're too expensive to ship. So I
store lots of grains in mine.
Yeah, and they're good. They keep the weevils out. They keep the mice out. So.
And if you put them outside, so you get your corn in the fall, right, when it harvests, and you put that in this and leave it outside or someplace in the garage where it gets really fucking cold. That cold will kill those fucking weevils and their larvae and shit.
Yeah, anything that's stored inside. Yeah, I leave all my shit stays out in the barn.
So it gets frozen out there. It'll kill everything off. So all spring and summer you'll have weevil free, grains. Yep, they gone.
They gone. And if you do get weevils, it'll be all right, man. Run them through the grinder.
Yeah, man, they don't care.
The 65s, man.
That's some extra nutrients, right?
That's right. Just extra nutrients. The 65s with the screw tops, they're really nice. The only thing I don't like about them is that your neck hole is small. And it makes it hard to get in there and work. And I like the big open top 55.
Not like the pickle barrels, the brown pickle barrel.
Yeah, like them. It's just they're nice, they're big, but they're just the neck is so small. It makes it hard to work in sometimes. But they're nice. I couldn't bring one of those to Maggie. You got to pick one of those up. It's just they're just too big.
Maybe farm to bottle,
Oh yeah, I bring whatever you want to farm to bottle. So if you come up to Wilmington, or if you come July 11th to the Philly Moonshine Festival, then I get you whatever you need. So, what's the point of the S trap on that
still? Oh, okay. So this is just a union here. This is a U trap, I guess. A Y trap, but this is the infuser. There's a valve up here, and I can also use one of these larger butterfly valves. But this I've got just like the hot dog, squeeze the ketchup into the plastic things. That's what I put. I microwave and get them warm, and I just squeeze it into there. And this is an infuser, and I can drain my infusion out and keep infusion as water builds up. I can drain it out and re-infuse here and pour it in the pot. So do they call that an S trap, I guess? Probably.
I mean, it's kind of
it's kind of
what you would have under your sink.
Yeah, it's kind of like a P trap. Yeah. With a clean out. So that's what I use it for. It's just an inline infuser. The vapor comes in, it bubbles through the infusion juices here. I have since this picture was taken a few years ago, I've added 4-inch pools on each side of this so I can hold more infusion juice, because that was the issue I was having is I was having to change it too much. So I made it deeper and I can hold a lot more infusion juice, and it works great. Just like a jar. It works just like a jar. Yeah. Yeah, the toast is the bomb. And
Yeah.
now that we've got the yellow label angel yeast, you know, if it works out well, we can just take hundreds of fucking pounds of corn, dump in a fucking tote, fill it full of fucking water, throw a brick of fucking angel in there, and be done with it, right? I mean, I'm
That's right.
stoked, man. I'm like, fuck, you know how much work I used to do to fill a fucking tote of hot fucking water, boiling water? That's always a limiting factor is
Dude,
cooking enough
that
corn,
cold
steeping
mash,
it.
like that
Fucking
cold
A,
mash is
man.
amazing, man. Like when you're doing big like that, and you see a lot of like we've had a lot of distilleries on, and that's what they do. They just cold mash. Like, oh, time is money, man. Time is money. Just boom, 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 boom. So it's definitely insane. But
Yeah,
all
it's
right,
definitely something I'm gonna get
we'll let
into
you
for
get
sure.
off here. Yeah,
All right.
we
Thanks for
appreciate
coming on, man. I
it.
appreciate having you on here.
Yes, sir. We
And
appreciate you tuning in tonight. Y'all be sure to
I
tune
know
back
you
in
invited
next
me to
week.
come on your show a while
Oh
back, and
no,
I've been busy, and
you're all good, man.
but I definitely want to set up a time sometime
We've
to do it. I'm
I say
sorry not
we're
getting back up with you,
good, man. You've been
but
busy.
yeah,
We're scheduled through up to June, and then we're going to take the summer off
yeah, I had the
just
flood,
because
man. I think it was
we
right
get
before
busy.
the flood that you were talking to me about it, man. And I had the flooded basement. It's like, man, I've been so busy the last couple of months. It's
Shit
been
happens.
crazy,
We
man.
ain't going nowhere. You
Yeah,
know what I'm saying?
yeah.
We'll be there. But like I said, man, I appreciate you letting me sit
I
down
just
and
want to
shoot the
catch
shit.
y'all before you have another hiatus.
Well, like I say, well, Sean's training. That's why, and that's why one reason why we brought Uncle Joey in,
Right?
because we knew Sean's busy for 6 months. You know, he's a single
Yeah,
dad now, and he's training for that fight. Like he don't want to get his ass kicked by Matt Brown. He'll never live it down.
yeah. See,
So
I can tell he's thinned up a little bit.
yeah, he's taking it serious. So that's what he on Monday nights he trains. He has boxing on Monday night, so he
Yeah,
can't make.
I can tell he lost weight in his face. Even.
Yeah, he's still ugly as shit.
Yeah.
And he's why we was late tonight.
Hey, I got a little bit late start too, so it all works out, brother.
I like busting his balls. It's all good, man.
All right, y'all. Well, thanks for coming in, and thanks for joining us for
Yes,
our
sir.
first guest
Y'all,
episode with
y'all can catch me Monday
Eaze.
nights at 9 p.m. on Still Talking Uncut podcast.
Absolutely.
I don't know who our guest is this week, but it'll be somebody cool.
On YouTube and Facebook,
Yeah,
so look them
YouTube.
up.
And actually, we're broadcasting now on the Philly channel.
And I'll send you that. Yeah, and I'll send you that link to for the little slideshow, so you can.
Oh yeah, I
put
want
that
to
up.
check that out. That's cool as hell, man. So I
Yeah.
appreciate you.
All right, brother.
Have a
Y'all
good night,
take it
man.
easy.
Hopefully,
Good night,
I'll see
everybody.
you in a
Sign
couple
off.
months.
Yeah,
Take
I'll
care.
definitely. Yeah, I'll be up here.
Cool.
Y'all have a
Later,
good one.
y'all.
Later, y'all.